Hey there, I'm Eternal, and I'm an Object Show fan who's on a journey to know everything about object shows. Let's play Object Catchup. Hello and welcome in to Object Catchup, the series where we discuss Object Show episodes right after watching them. Whether they're new or old, famous or unknown, it doesn't matter. We will get to it all. Now, for today, it is a day that I'm not gonna lie, I have been looking forward to quite a while. It is one of those days where something that I originally created Catchup envisioning as an episode is now an episode. That is the episode for ITFT, a show that is very, very big. It's one of the biggest shows when it comes to the modern era of object shows. And its latest release that happened while I was on the hiatus 2 weeks ago is, of course, the biggest episode to have released for a show outside of the Catchup ecosystem. So in this episode that will take place roughly around every 5 episodes, there will be a ecosystem sort of renewal where beyond requests and beyond what channels we've already covered, we cover the biggest outside releases and bring them in. This is absolutely the biggest one. The show created by derpadon, which I think it commented on the channel once before, but it will be. I'm very curious because I don't know much about it. I don't really know much about it. I heard that it's the most confusing object show, according to people. I don't know. Some people did that. That's like the mantra that it gets named under. But some people disagree. Some people agree. A lot of people are very much so into it. It's got lore. Some people like it. Some people don't. We'll need to find out what it is. With due time. I'm coming in pretty much totally blind. It's wacky, I know that. I have like the actual specifics of how and when and what and the characters, very little. So we're gonna start off here with episode 1, which I believe they're listed off via time, right? So it's time for the 1, right? So it's like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, right? But it's time for the 1 is entitled Who's Chasing? It has 2.4 million views. It released on July 2023. I don't have many expectations. Let's just jump into it and find out what this show is all about. Hello, I have just watched It's Time for the 1. Now that is, I'm interested. I am interested. Of course, we do kind of like the discussions for these episodes are always a little bit different, right? Because unlike a new show, right, where you kind of start wondering where is it gonna go, we know that this goes somewhere, right? Like this is a show that evolves from here. We know that it became a big thing. So when taking a look at these kind of like top dog shows, right, the top dog episodes, over 1 million views on them, right, those are kind of like, you kind of gotta look at them a little bit differently, right? Like you kind of gotta observe them more in like a look back way, right? Like did it achieve, like does it not necessarily deserve what it achieved, but like how did it achieve what it achieved rather than will it achieve, right? And I find this episode very, very, very interesting because it's unique, and I'm impressed by the fact it's unique because it's a big show, and I've taken a look at a lot of smaller shows that presumably will take inspiration from it, but this still manages to be a very, very distinct vibe because basically the gimmick that is being played with here is time, which is a very interesting gimmick to play, right? Like, and it's not time as in the host, but just the way everything is written. You notice it that not like 70% or more of like gags in this episode are timing related gags, right? There are gags where somebody's voice gets cut off, somebody's voice is faster, somebody's voice is slower, somebody gets interrupted, right? This show plays by with time. Time is what it is using in its entirety to do what it's doing. And that is very, very intriguing to actually take a look at. And I mean, it kind of brings up the question, right? Like, why, like, how have I not seen other shows that try this out? And I don't know. I mean, if I were to kind of give in an initial assessment of it, is that making this type of writing style is complicated because it's not funny on a script. Right, like that's kind of the thing. It's not as funny on a script to write a timing gag, which means that it's hard to write into a script. Things that you have to imagine beyond the script, like non-verbal interactions, like timing gags, tend to sometimes be lost on a lot of smaller shows because they suffer a little bit from being tough to kind of imagine, right? But like when you see a show that knows what it's like to write a timing gag and writes it, and I mean, of course, great job on the audio editing. Audio editing might be one of the more, it might be the most interesting in this show than it will be in any other show going forward, right? Because it's doing so much of the heavy lifting. It's like it's debatably the most important component. Like, the audio editing is debatably more important in this show than it is on anything else, which is very interesting. Yeah, we start off here with the episode with, again, music kicking us off, and us having our general, introductory chatter. Right, like at the end of the day, this is still following a relatively standard modern object show procedure, which means that it's got characters in a plain land, which don't really seem to have houses or any of the lot, but they're just kind of chilling there, and they have some the beef and non-beef and friends and non-friends, and they have a little bit of a preamble chatter until the host, who's an algebraianistic figure that doesn't really make sense to either us or the contestants, proceeds to host their show in a kind of nonsensical fashion with a nonsensical prize, which everybody for some reason really wants anyways, and then we proceed to host a challenge that is equally as nonsensical, but like all of these things are all involved here as they're involved like a BFB, as they're involved like an animated battle. All of those things, all of those elements are present, and this makes it the third core component of that idea in the modern object show landscape. So that is interesting as well. We have here some characters. Who are the characters? Because we got to remember that there's not actually that much time for me to talk about the episodes, because these episodes are relatively short. We have 57 Ball and No Way, which we don't see much. We have the refill dispenser, which seems to talk in a little bit of like inconsistency with time. Not really sure why. Not really sure why. I don't know what it is about refill dispensers that makes them talk faster and then they talk slower. Like, I don't know, maybe it's because like it's on and then it's off. I don't really know. Then we have the Words with Friends tower, which is very interestingly voice acted. There's like this there's this like general like shakiness to the voice, like yo, like it's not the type of direction that you see. Like, what's up, dude? Like it's very, very intriguing. Then we have Green. That's like I don't even know what that is, but yeah, they seem to be, I guess, the most theoretically logical. We've got the Vase, that seems to be the most chill. We seem to have Polka Dot, which is cool. What the hell? It's like a polka dot pattern, and then you can unfold it, and then there's portals to different units. What? How do you even come up with that? How is that even a character design that got made? What? I mean, it looks cool as hell. But like, yeah. Then you have, I don't actually know who this is. But we had to do it. I should probably pull up go to the intro to sort out, when is the intro? Oh yeah. Then we have Wheel. Yeah, we have Wheel. Wheel seems to be the kind of meaner character right from the beginning. He's like, oh no, it's bad stuff or whatever. We end up having the Sun itself, which has the kind of gag of being enormous character that talks with extremely high pitched, quiet voice. Right. I like it though. It's a cute voice. I enjoy it, and I enjoy that trope. I'll be the first to say it. I don't actually mind that it's there. We have, of course, clock itself, but I guess we'll get about it. There's file container, which you pretty much don't see in this episode, to be honest. They say like one line. And yeah, there's clock, and I think those are the characters. There's clock themselves. Clock is a host, yet again, very time-based, seemingly nicer. Right, because like you gotta kind of put them on the scale, because when you have this type of early BFB-esque, you need to sort of range it, because early BFB-esque is has 4 as an absolute extreme when it comes to general meanness, right? Like 4 does not let contestants breathe. This host seems to be a little forceful, but not in a kind of dangerous way. It'll be interesting to see the dynamics with the characters and how this clock fella evolves. Because currently, like, I don't know, if I was a character and I was looking at clock, I wouldn't feel in danger. You know, I don't really feel in danger. Like, they've not really come out here and done a murder, right? They've just kind of done a challenge. They've been confusing, right? They've been confusing with rules, which is interesting. I wonder if that is going to be something that's going to get kind of followed along with future episodes. Kind of like, will the rules of the challenge remain in a little bit more mysterious? Because the rules of the challenge don't really make sense. Because like this challenge is pretty much just like it's pretty much get rid of a card. Like what? Just let it stop making a sound in an unknown amount of time. I guess for some reason nobody thinks they're just ripping up the paper. I mean, somebody thinks they're ripping up the paper, only like too late. So yeah. By the way, the teams that end up getting formed are team. What are these teams? We end up having team. Hey, which is polka dot, green, and the felt container. This team is interesting, but again, I don't know. I don't know enough. It's a little fast, right? I don't know enough to really judge these teams here. I don't think I'm gonna do that because they have the strongest team on Earth. So that's Team Earth. This is Wheel. Yeah, I don't know yet. I don't know. To be honest, I don't know yet. There's a reason why. A lot of the time that these early episodes of the early BFB-esque, right? They tend to be long. You know, they tend to be kind of severe because they have to try to lock down everybody, and they do manage to do it. However, they do it at a degree where, of course, the episode becomes really long. So here you have the interesting variation where you have an opener of that early BFB show where it's, however, limited by the detail that it is a short episode. It's only 10 minutes, right? So a lot of the time, the kind of inner details of the characters, I don't think I got it yet. You know, like I gotta give it another episode in this case, right? Like you gotta give it like 20-30 minutes of total show runtime to be able to kind of understand characters here. I mean, this isn't a large cast, so it's faster to do that. But I don't think I quite got it yet. You know, but yeah, I mean, overall, we are gonna move into the next episode, but like it's very interesting. The challenge, well, I've pretty much not thought about it. So there's a birthday card addressed to Lucas, which I mean, I guess I know that Lucas is a character. They're not a character here, but they are a character, so I know that they'll show up at some point. But yeah, it made a noise. You have to get rid of it after the perfect copies. Green tries to go into the polka dot portals to get rid of it, and they do manage to bring it over to space. But they don't actually get rid of it in space because like the thing that they don't clock is that the polka dot pattern, like the portals are still there. Like you can't get rid of a polka dot. So by bringing it into space, that just means that it's gonna make the sound through the other place. I mean, I guess you could kind of make the argument that space shouldn't make a sound, but this is object show logic. Right, this is Object Show logic. Then we end up having the Words of Friends house, who decides to hide it in well, actually, Vase decides to hide in the vase. Words of Friends is about to leave. Then the time's up, and then they eventually go into the vase and rip it up. And then finally, the other team just kind of kicked it away. Couldn't find it. if got rid of it, yeeted it off. You couldn't find it. Well, what are you gonna do? And in the meantime, we end up having the elimination yet again. The timing gags all involved, right? Cut-offs, sentence mixing, the general time relatedness of the challenge, right? The time being a mysterious, the timers being on the right clock themselves, of course, being a character. The timers, timing gags, right? Like for example, how the cards every single time the teams got fucked over by the cards because of the time, right? Like, for example, that one card, it timed itself so that it only started playing in the vase when clock showed up. Same thing goes for the timing of the card in space only starting to play afterwards, right? All of this stuff, it's time. It's unbelievable. We'll see though if it's gonna continue or if it's gonna vary it, because as it is, I would currently describe this as a gimmick, right? Like, I don't know if you will quite do if you can quite do an entire show like this, but let's find out, of course, as it's time to move ourselves into the next episode. Episode 2 is entitled Best Source for Weather Information. Go. Alright, that is episode 2 of It's Time for The, and I mean, this show just flies, dude. This show it flies by. I noticed it, because, I'm watching a show usually, and like, I'll be kind of thinking about it directly, but I noticed that, like, after randomly in the middle of the episode, I was like, wait, I haven't really thought of anything for the past couple of minutes, because it just kind of is a show that is just, it's happening, it's clean, you're watching it, it gets you into the flow state of observation. It gets into it gets you into the flow state. It's very interesting. But yeah, I mean, I think when I did the 1 p.m. section, so we're at each level of PM right now, which I guess will be interesting to see kind of what's going on. By the way, while I'm here, just trying to point out, I'm not watching the side episodes. I'm watching the main line. All right, I know that there's a couple. I think there's 3 side episodes. I'm watching the main ones, the 1 through 10. The other ones maybe a different time, but right now no. Okay, all right, got it. But either way, I mean, like, that is definitely an episode. So what happens in this episode? We begin here with yet again a showcase, and then we cut off to a little TV, little gag for I don't know, looking like a Phineas and Ferb clip. Which I think can bring us into already the kind of main kind of plot idea of the episode that plays throughout the end. So you can tell that something's up, right, with the elimination and everything. Television, right? What's going on with that? So, we gotta kind of see, because I said in my past section that I found that the gimmick of the show was time, and while it is, I 100% believe that, right? I don't think gimmick is the right word. I think I want to switch it up. The philosophy is time, right? Which means that we write it directly with time in our mind, right? Time as kind of the topic, right? Which makes for some kind of intriguing prospects, because time is such a broad concept that you can do a lot of things with it. And one of the main interesting things that you can do with the concept of time for a show is the act of time setting. Right, beyond like the general, like the writing principles that I talked about in the previous section, right? The writing principles of like cuddle gags, right? Time-related gags, right? And time-related writing, which this episode has in abundance, by the way. There's also the act of setting a time frame, right? So kind of like history in a way, right? And by setting this kind of 90s, 80s sort of television aesthetic, you are setting yourself, you're doing a time setup, right? You're doing a time setup with like the TV, like the vibe, that's being transmitted. And of course the weather channel itself, obviously, of course, the weather, time, those are correlated things. The weather tells the time, right? All of these things are directly correlated. But like even just a television from the time, right? It's from the time. Like it's a very difficult. I think I'm not explaining this to the satisfaction I want to explain it, but like it's a very complicated concept, right? To really explain, because like it's so. It's not intuitive, but it's kind of a complicated concept for me to just kind of explain right now on a whim. But hopefully you get what I mean, right? The act of like placing in a time period vibe is directly also time being utilized for the show, right? Which I think is interesting. But anyways, we have ourselves the fellas doing a staring contest. Words with Friends Tower is capable of having eyes depending on when they want. The sun, you can't stare into the sun, so the sun wins the staring contest. 57 Borg is pretty upset. Then yet again we continue to have the refill dispenser for I don't know what's going on with this refill dispenser. Clock ends up dropping by. They want something to do. They're back, and it's only been about an hour, right? Because the show takes place at every hour. So yeah, it's now 2 o'clock, it's now 2 p.m., whereas before it was 1 p.m. So, we also, of course, have the time. Now, this is interesting because, of course, this means that we have, we don't have a 100% basis, right? Because, like, the length of an episode isn't necessarily time running in real time. Right? Like, for example, the intro of the show. I don't think the show is running in real time at that moment, right? Or like the outro, because, of course, it's kind of relevant to a show with a very limited amount of time for itself to work with. Like in a realistic setting, to be like, okay, for example, this show could never have an episode over an hour long because it would roll into the next one, right? And same thing goes for having an episode, like either having an episode that's too long or that impacts things too much, right? Or that sets up a thing that takes too long, because it has to be something that's immediate, right? It's a limiting factor because, like, for example, in no episode will the characters ever be able to travel. Like, for example, I don't know, the gags where somebody has to walk over back from like a mile down, right? Like, they can't do something that, like, for example, I don't know, if the challenge is to get on top of the mountain or whatever, right? And then taking on top of the mountain takes, like an hour walk. You can't do that type of stuff, right? You can't do stuff that takes the character's time, which is an interesting limitation. To the hourly system. Now, well, okay, I'm saying you can't. You probably can. I'm personally going to call out the show if it does, because I think the limitation fuels creativity, and just ignoring the limitation is lame. But, like, it's sort of, it's an interesting kind of way here, right? Then it's apparently 2:37 p.m. is when the challenge is, so that's kind of interesting. But we end up having the elimination take place. We have the reading of comments yet again. The clock the way clock toss like this. Clock toss like this. Clock says the sentence and it's not. Next sentence is the fall. Yep. Okay. Cool. Got. Yep. Yeah, that's how clock toss. It has my favorite gag of the episode. I love the. I love Clock reading out the time spans and just having the sounds of the wheels turning. That was such a good gag, dude. That's a 10 out of 10 gag. But we end up having the votes. Out of 3,000 votes, Polkadot gets like a billion. Polkadot gets 1,844. And of course you do. It's a vote to save. It's a vote to save, and this is the coolest character concept of all time. We proceed to have the eliminated character just about be the felt dispenser, because they didn't do anything. It's a very, very valid first interesting, and they get turned into the weather channel for a little bit. More clouds in the southeast. I think it's the same weather channel that we get to see at the end. And eventually they end up getting properly turned off. As you can see, they get glitched out, and then the word stop comes by, and then they get kind of turned off. It's very television. It's very, very television. So that'll be kind of kind of interesting to find out. And then we end up having the challenge. I'm barely talking about the challenge in the show because they're like, there's the challenges themselves, as I said, they're kind of the flow state of it, right? Which means that they're mainly focused on kind of the comedy aspect, right? Like they're where the comedic fruits of the show come in. And when it comes to comedy and stuff, I don't really have as much to say. No Way gets a split into their little equivalent thing, which is very interesting because it does seem to properly affect them, right? Like you can see how when the split happened, they felt very bad, and then when the split came in, they felt very bad again. So it's like it's a very demanding thing that's split into the multiple No Ways. It's also interesting how they're called Octagon when they're not No Way, when like they don't have the sign on them anymore. That's interesting. Another writing philosophy thing, which I also think is interesting about the show that I guess I'm going to mention here while I remember it, is that you'll notice that the show has a much more increased focus on actually displaying music than other sectors. Like you can see that I'm pretty sure, I think it has quite a lot of custom composition, which is of course a reason, but it has also a lot of custom composition because it's, you know, it's original. Yeah, because music is directly a time-based medium, right? It's about rhythm, it's about timing, the characters can move along to it, right? Directly doing stuff related to music is doing stuff related to time, right? Which is another thing that fits into the show philosophy. You can really see the show is trying to like squeeze out all the philosophy that it can out of its like trying to make its principle and trying to settle in everything that fits into the principle. It's very, very interesting. The characters that are up for elimination that don't quite manage to make it are Wheel, who fails, 57 Ball, who just kind of dies, Vase, who also just kind of dies, the Sun, that got kind of handicapped and barely didn't make it, and Green, which seemed to glitch out into a different landscape. Not sure where they were. They went to one of Polka Dot's portals and then kind of barely got out and then died. So but yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I mean, we'll need to see. My personal elimination is 57 Ball. Didn't do much, but I'd maybe predict Vase to get out, because Vase is the character that's done the least directly, because 57 Ball in this episode loses the battle to the Sun. The Sun is just generally interesting as a character. Again, there's a thing. I feel like there's a thing with planetary characters that just kind of interests most people, and the Sun baby cute. Wheel is kind of interesting, and Green, I think you gotta feel bad for them to die both episodes now. But I say probably Vase goes, although I'd personally want 57 Ball to go. I think 57 Ball is the least interesting. And then, of course, at the end of it, we have the Weather Channel, where we get to see it at 2:57 specifically. We end up seeing the Weather Channel where, it is, in fact, the same design. And we see, of course, the interesting thing. On Thursday, there is incoming call, which is interesting. You can also see the date over there at the top right changes to 12 a.m., and then there seems to be some type of thing going on. So there's like something happening. Something's happening on Thursday. It's Wednesday. Something happening on Thursday. Now, this of course means that we are on a ticking clock, I guess, until incoming call happens. Incoming call is at 12 a.m. That's episode 12. We're not there yet in the entirety of the show, but I guess we're on a ticking time bomb there. It'll be interesting to see. I've overrun talking about this episode for quite a while. Episode 3 is entitled Next. Okay. Episode 3 of ITFT. I have watched it, and it is certainly time to try to figure it out. Now, yet again, I'm kind of trying to currently piece together what the background story that's kind of building out might be, because, as I'm saying, in terms of the actual challenge component, it's not too important. Although this is my favorite challenge. I thought this was quite entertaining. It was also the best animated. It showcases the environment. Nearly every character except Refill Station, unfortunately, gets to properly be a part of it. And overall, it's a good challenge. In my opinion, it's my favorite challenge. So, and I mean, maybe we'll talk about it more in a bit. There's not like a lot of time. In terms of other things, actually, before I want to talk about the lore element, I do want to say one thing which I think is definitely complementing the show a lot right now, and that is beyond just the flow state. It's very consistent. I'm liking what's going on here, because one of the things that's very nice that can happen, however, with the time constraint, right, of the episodes being hourly in a sense, right, is that you basically nearly don't feel the episode swap. Right? Like, you basically don't feel. The act of the episode swap can sometimes be a little jarring, a little bit different. But right now, at least for this initial batch of episodes, which, I mean, I'm not 100% sure the release schedule. They release relatively quickly, right? Like a month or two apart from each other. Like, they all feel very, very interconnected, and that makes it such a clean watching experience right now. And like, it'll be interesting to see as we start heading into the newer episodes, because the newer episodes get longer. They get, I guess, they're gonna get grander. They're gonna get bigger. And it'll be interesting to see, will it lose that kind of flow state from one into the next? Because I think that would be really unfortunate if it did. I'm not gonna lie. I think it'd be unfortunate if it did, because right now that's one of the big W's of it, right? That like, the episodes are feeling like properly interconnected via the time system, and I'd be worried if that stops, But yeah, anyways, it was 2:57 p.m. One thing that I must notice is that now, as we get to see the Sun intro, we see that we're tuned into channel 57. Yes, 57 does seem to, in a way, directly be the channel that we are taking place here. There's a lot to do with channel 57. All right, so we have to keep that in mind, because it's also, of course, the broadcast time of Jasonville, and we know that from the ending that apparently on Jasonville TV there seems to be ITFT happening. Now, it's sort of intriguing, I guess, to see kind of like what is the TV program that's actually going on, because it seems as if the TV program is maybe possibly following the show live. That could be an interesting prospect, because like it seems to be following this kind of approach where the Jasonville television is almost kind of going like, it's a new time for the episode at the hour, and then it ends, runs ads or whatever, runs the weather on top of the hour, and then we sort of delve ourselves into it, right? Which, by the way, would make it the lamest television channel in the world. by the way, the two, it's like that one television, cause like, that one television schedule of like Nicktoons or whatever that's like legendarily bad? It's like everything is SpongeBob the entire day except for 1 hour was the Loud House, right? Like, it's like the lamest possible TV schedule, right? It's like one show, ads, weather, the show again. Like, it's the worst channel, but like and it's kind of funny. But like, okay, so that kind of seems to be happening here. Which is interesting. But what I'm noticing is really leading into it, and I kind of picked up here from the swap here as it starts to become more important. It seems as if Polka Dot is a connecting element to it, because Polka Dot has the universes, and in this episode, you've noticed it, it's clear as day, the universes are different channels. The different channels are directly sending, but maybe not different universes. I'm not sure exactly where the portals are leading. I don't think they're leading to a different universe. I think we are probably all on the same Earth, but like we're on like different sides of the Earth, and it allows it to develop it. Because of course, if you look at channel 55 there at the beginning, you have this kind of squarey stick figurey approach. Channel 56 is the baking channel, right? And both of those we know 100% Polka Dot portals lead to, because we know in the last episode, freaking Green got sent over down to the location where Trevor, the boom mic fella, was chilling, and we know, of course, from the outro that is channel 56, and we already have a mention of it on channel 56 that's what's going on. So that's really interesting. Then we end up also having 55, of course, be the degree, and that's where we get the glass of water. And it would seem like we were live in an episode of the show that it was on, because you end up having the kind of house intro, TV14, everything. So that's all playing. So polka dots very important to this equation. Extremely, extremely important to this equation. In fact, it's the most important to this equation. Now, what is the equation? I have no idea. Like, you gotta understand, I don't know. But, like, shit's happening. Alright? Which is very, 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 very interesting. So I'm trying to follow it. I've heard that this is confusing object show. So I'm trying to catch here the glimpses in. So polka dot important. That's kind of happening. Then the universe, then like the other channels are directly related to the portals from Polkadot. Okay, that's going on. And then, remember, at the end of the day, this shit's gonna go down. So, in terms of what else happens in the episode, Clock proceeds to be in the fire for a little while. Polkadot tries to see what's up with them. They end up bringing up the fellas in the challenge. We end up yet again playing a lot of gags with the intro. Yet again, this is what I mean, for example, right? Like, a gag like this works and isn't overrun because it's developing through a short span of time, right? Like, it's developed through a short span of time because it doesn't feel like it's been very long since the last episode, because they naturally flow into one another, which allows a gag like the intro gags that has been ongoing for like the last 2 episodes, still feel very, very fresh, and they increase in funniness because, again, they flow very well into each other. Time. Alright, anyways, we end up having the elimination happen after some of the comment reading yet again. We have similar little gags as last time, right? Taking in a non-sound and turning it into a sound, like with the party horn. But again, it flows into each other nicely, which means that it's kind of like it, right? Like, there's a degree to the routine. Right, there's almost a magic to the routine here. Like, I really do think that the routine that's currently being played with these early ITFT episodes is very intriguing. I'm liking it a lot. But anyways, we also end up reading a comment that says incoming call, and call seems to be mildly surprised by it, so that's kind of interesting. 4,593 votes, which is more than one. Now we have the sun being safe first, because of course the sun is safe first. It's this is just one of those terrible powerhouses. It's a thing about it. Like, there's a thing about these celestial entities with a face that there's so much that you can do with the concept, right? Especially as it's kind of like a reverse black hole, right? It's like the sun, but like the baby voice rather than super deep black hole like it's a proper antithesis to it. Like, it's this concept that's just inherently interesting. Wheel proceeds to survive, and the eliminated contestant ends up actually being 57 Ball. I'm very surprised by that. I guess it was at the very beginning of the episode when 57 Ball, of course, gets their eyes burned by the sun. But, I'm pretty impressed because they didn't really do much of anything. But fair enough. We end up also having a random appearance of like a Blu-ray logo in the background. That's kind of interesting. I don't think that's relevant, but anyways, it's 3 o'clock. The challenge is get water. Challenges to get water. Love this challenge. As I said, love the challenge. The other thing that I find a little bit unfortunate is refill station not getting to be a part of it. They don't get told the challenge, and everybody wants to use the refill station to probably do it, but of course it's too easy, so refill station is banned. But it will be up for elimination. I'm predicting it's probably getting eliminated. Now, maybe there's a reverse psychology here where it's like usually the least relevant character, right, doesn't get saved in a vote to save. So refill station by basically not appearing is cooked. However, there's a degree of not appearing where you start to notice just how little they appeared, and then maybe you're fine. Right, if that makes sense. But I don't think that's the case for Refill Station, because the problem is that the other fellas, everybody else got a lot of screen time. Like Green got screen time, No Way got quite a lot of screen time, right? The Words with Friends Talk got quite a lot of screen time, and it's just generally a good character. There's not much to say about it. And yet again, the sun does the swaggest thing of all time and proceeds to boil the water, and so that it turns into a gas cloud and it makes it rain onto the fucking cup. Like, you can't just be having the character do that and not expect them to be a TL of a powerhouse. They're just cool. They're just cool. And at the end of it, I'm telling you, the average kid voter, right? The average audience voter, they are hella down for a character that is doing their object characteristics. I'm a 100% a believer in that. Characters that utilize their characteristic, like their object nature to a heavy degree, get massively favored. And I think, like, I'm a big believer in that. And, like, I think these celestial entities are the greatest example of it as well. But yeah, then the wheel proceeds to be a nuisance anyways, which is kind of interesting. The water gets stolen yet again. I really like the gas in this episode. Like, again, there's not a lot for me to say, but but it's funny. You just need to trust me on this one, okay? It's funny. The way that every single time Clock receives water and then proceeds to mildly glitch out. Because, you know, technically not supposed to get water. But, like, it's always... But, like, it just gets brushed off and ignored. It's so funny. Apparently, by the way, the glitch out is not actually Claw's doing. That was part of the elimination that I forgot to mention. Which is another potential lore component. Claw didn't do that. But Claw acknowledges its existence. Claw acknowledges that the glitch out from... The other fella was not that. It wasn't that. So it seems to be possibly something else that's going on. I mean, you have to kind of think about, I guess, the deal of it being a television program includes the aspect of the beyond, right? The behind the scenes, which is of course the first thing that my mind goes to, right? I mean, like, if you're not doing it, the behind the scenes is doing it. Who's behind the scenes? Who's the showrunner? Who's the boss? Right? That's the absolute immediate first thing that I kind of seen, that I'm kind of thinking. Clark looked at the incoming call, was a little bit worried about it, so maybe they're worried about it. Maybe it's a call from the boss. Who's the boss man? Who runs Jasonville Television? Right? Also, what the hell is Jasonville? They're in a field. All of these things are kind of playing along, and this is interesting. There's a lot of interesting things. We take the fruit. Apparently, the water dispenser. Well, they just kind of got a pizza. Did they also get a water? To be fair, so like they weren't totally failing. I hope that they survive. I think refill station is kind of fun, but like might have to predict it to be eliminated. The other three are just two big hitters. I personally believe, but anyway, yeah, that's that is ITFT 3. We ended up having the last moment with Trevor. By the way, he's a great character design. I love Trevor. And yeah, the key lime pie only to bake for about 18 to 22 minutes. Now, don't get me. Hold on a minute. Isn't one of the side episodes called like 822 or something? I swear it is. Hold on, mini-zodes. 826. Okay, never mind. Okay, that's fake. Alright, interesting. Well, alright, we're trying to lock it in. By the way, shout out to the, it's very, like, it's very, is this Disney? I'm trying to figure out, like, what is this television ident kind of looking at, like, it's like a Disney channel. It's looking like a Disney XD type deal. Alright, let's go to episode 4. Do not use the popcorn button. Alright, that is episode 4 of It's Time for the... Now, I don't think a lot of lore necessarily happened in this episode, right? Because, like, this is a show where there's kind of two shows going on in this show, right? Like, it's doing that kind of narrative ploy with, like, here's an example. Like, you know, Bean Show, right? Like, Bean Show does this kind of, sort of two shows within the show, two vibes within the show, right? Where, like, there's, the main core component is, at the end of the day, supposed to be very humorous, very randomical, right? With the characters kind of being fun, and you're supposed to enjoy watching it, right? But it kind of has the vibe switches temporarily with what's going on with, like, Bean, right? And it sort of plays off as a clash of that, right? Now, this is doing a similar thing, right? It's doing a similar thing with the ARG side of it, right? It's that instead of it flicking between like normal show and serious show, it's flicking between normal show and ARG, right? That's kind of what it's doing. It's definitely a normal show, but it's currently on the, or like, you know, trying to, mainly with the beginning and end, it's sort of playing itself on what's going on in the other areas. Now, what's going on is Polkadot. Polkadot is something that's happening right now. I'm not sure what, but you can tell from the beginning, right? You start off here with the channel, and it seems to sort of transition itself into the start of the show here as the channel, however, seems to progress. And here you can really see that yeah, it's almost like Polkadot is a connecting piece for the channels, right? Like you can see that when the channels were flickering, we are kind of like within Polkadot's lands, but at the same time, it's we enter in, right, and we have, and then the show plays. And one thing that I'm starting to notice, right, one thing I'm starting to notice is that, like, in the last episode, remember in the last episode when I talked about the TV identificator, right, the television like bumper, I guess is how it's called in English. Ident is an Italian word, but like it's what I was kind of thinking with it is that, like, now I'm noticing about it, that was polka dot pattern colors. It's similar because it's of course one of them is a clock's color, but it's similar in that aspect, right, where we have the like the kind of thing playing out. So that's interesting. And another detail that I was paying attention to and I was kind of thinking about is, and I hadn't thought about originally, is that Jason is the birthday card. The birthday card is to Lucas, and then it gets cloned to Jason, right? Which is interesting because, of course, Jasonville is where we currently are, and Lucas is a different character. I'm pretty sure it's the character. Again, the show doesn't tell you. I know it from meta. I know it from outside, right? But like, I'm pretty sure that Lucas is that little cloth fella that appears at the end of it. On like a different on like a different thing, a different thing that's going on, right? And they seem to be also utilizing a popcorn. They grab a popcorn at 7:57. You see, there's a lot of stuff kind of happening, right? Like like popcorn at 7:57. Of course, 57, the channel, right? The popcorn is first of all the title, by the way, which is the title of the episode. Do not use the popcorn button. But beyond that, it's also giving in vibes of, remember in the I think episode 2. No, in the last episode when the character got eliminated, I don't remember who. me and I already forgot who got eliminated. 57 ball. They got turned into a popcorn dispenser, right? They got turned into a popcorn dispenser. So that's all ongoing, right? And like it seems like, yeah, currently the ITFT as of this episode 4 is seeming to be on kind of the connecting puzzle piece phase of ARG-ness, right? Where we don't actually know what the hell any of the story is. We just know that there are threads, right? Like it's giving us 10 wires, right? And it's slowly telling us connect the wires, right? But like we don't know why we're connecting the wire. We don't know what's happening, right? Like what is the story? I have no idea. But there's something happening, right? There's something going on. Clark yet again proceeds to reiterate post this elimination, which takes place underwater, that he has I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. That they have no idea what's going on. Like with the eliminated contestants, and then we have a pause during the conversation, and then we cut, which is obviously interesting because I mean, it's a television program that seems to be running semi-live, but of course it seems like the television doesn't want you to hear what's going on. All of these things are very, very, very interesting. I don't know, right? Like, I've always been, like, I'm talking about this a lot, because I've always been one for the ARG. I'm not gonna lie. A good ARG, I'm like, I kind of want to, you know? Again, don't get me wrong. That doesn't mean I'm good. I'm pretty bad at solving ARGs. I'm definitely going to probably leave the ITFT, not really know what's happening, but I'm trying, right? Because I enjoy it, and I'm a sucker for a good ARG. So, there's things that are happening, for sure. there in the background. But anyways, what's actually going on in the episode? The sun continues to be the sun, but as they're over there on top, we end up having the elimination time. Everybody goes underwater. We yet again have the intro take place with a proper throw. Many Mario 64 little references in it, which of course is a Mario 64 mega fan. With it, I'm definitely a fan of. We end up having a couple of ideas. I see the references. As a little bit of fan, I just want to say, actually, they're receiving vanish caps, and the vanish caps don't get you to breathe underwater. That's actually the metal cap, and the metal cap makes you turn into metal. So. That's not accurate. They wouldn't actually be able to breathe underwater if they had a vanish cap. This is incorrect. But well, whatever. Who cares? And we proceed to have the elimination where Refill Station gets the most votes. The most, which is crazy. I am very surprised by that detail. For sure, because what really? I mean, I called that as a possibility, right? Where you pay attention to the fact that Refill Station misses out on the challenge, and you think that's not fair, right? That they don't get screen time and they miss out on the challenge, so we vote them. But I didn't expect it to be that much. By the way, the thing about Refill Station that I was also thinking about what this episode was ongoing. Because because have you noticed that this is a thing that happens with this is a thing that's happening relatively consistently. It's that flow state. That flow state means that you're just kind of watching it, right? And it's fun, it's funny, but you also think it's the best state you can be in for this type of ARG, because you're just you're observing and you're taking in a lot of information at once, right? So I was kind of thinking, and I was hearing Refill Station and how they're a timing gag, and I was like, this is definitely Carrie's jump cut tool, is it not? Right? This is 100% gotta be, right? This is using jump cutter. It has to be using jump cutter, because it breaks silence, right? Any Refill Station line does not have any pauses within it, and it cuts off. What happens when you put the jump cutter on ultra, right? And only the sounds get played, which means that any quiet vowels proceed to get skipped. Right, that's totally what's going on, and that's actually sick. I enjoyed that a lot. It took me 4 episodes to realize, but that's actually sick. The 11% character. What am I doing? I'm talking like the sun. The subtitles. By the way, the subtitles are out here telling me Sun is saying things, and Sun is 100% not saying half of those words. Sun starts off saying a sentence and then just. Yeah. No, that's not how does this? I cannot do that voice. That voice is not happening. That my vocal cords cannot produce that sound. But say, yeah, I will go. It just blabbers on. There's no way. We don't go beyond it. But yeah, the eliminated character proceeds to be green. They turn into a radio, apparently, which is interesting. What does the radio say? The radio definitely was making a sound. No, it was a song. Which, by the way, music. Yeah, music is interesting in the show, because, as I said, I think in the the episode 2 chatter, this show is utilizing music quite a bit as a little bit of a method to, again, keep to his design philosophy of time, which I've stopped mentioning because it's remained the default, but it's very interesting still. It's keeping itself to its general structure. Timing gags are absolutely its bread and butter. No pun intended, and all that is going on. But one thing that I like to point out with the music is that it's almost like it's testing itself with how many types of music it can use. You can really tell that it's doing that because the subtitles are directly telling you that it's doing that, right? Anytime a song comes up, you don't hear the song, you hear the style, you hear the genre. It's it's trying to play as many genres as possible. It's gospel shows up. I remember in episode 2, breakcore showed up. You'll notice at the very first scene, it was hip hop, right? It's trying to tick the boxes of genres, right? And trying to include as many as possible. It's really interesting. And I guess I'll be intrigued to see in future scenarios. But anyways, the challenge I get. There's too much to talk about in this show. There's too much to talk about where the challenge, which is the main component of it, I almost don't care to talk about it. There's nothing wrong with the challenge. I like the challenge a lot, but there's too much going on in the background that's interesting. It's doing ARG nonsense. Like, this is how an ARG plays itself out. Majority of this type of videos with ARG components in it, the most interesting part to talk about isn't the ARG. No, sorry, it isn't the video. The foreground is actually not relevant a lot of the time. It's a very interesting way to properly play it off, that, because that just allows it to be a good show, right? That really does, because if you have just a clean and nice fun show, you can add the ARG elements to it, because you can just ignore the ARG, right? Like, you can ignore the ARG-ness and just watch a good show, or you can ignore the show and watch an ARG, right? Both of these things can be true at the same time, which is something that, which is something that suffers a little bit from, historically, ARGs kind of suffer from, right? Because ARGs kind of suffer from, and by the way, the usage of the term ARG is not quite correct. I know. The usage of the term ARG is supposed to mean alternate reality game, which is supposed to mean that it's off-site in a way, right? You have interactions with it. This isn't the case. This is analog, right? But let's go ARG analog reality game. There is a story in the background that is directly related to the kind of analog nature of it, right? It's mysterious. It's got a lot of the elements. I get that it's not technically an ARG, but you gotta understand, okay? Hopefully you know what I mean, right? But it's something that ARGs have kind of suffered from, this kind of mystery where things are in the background, but then there's nothing much entertaining in the foreground. I'm thinking about something like the Dad ARG, right, where it's a lot of the Dad videos are not actually interesting, right? They're just there so that they're just footage, so that you can find the code in it somewhere, but the actual video wouldn't be interesting to watch, so that kind of takes you out of the reality of it a little bit. But this is interesting. This is cool. It's fun. Challenges to bread. Challenges to bread. They proceed to bread. Okay, we're just gonna. It's cool. They do fun stuff. They do the polka dot. Okay, the sun. They put the thing in the sun. React against play. No way. This time they seem to be a little bit more used to it. The other No Way seems to be talking. It's interesting because apparently they're splitting two. So is this a different part of No Way's mind? I don't know. But either way, we proceed to have a team that proceeds to give them burnt toast, and the clock definitely eats it. The other team doesn't want to submit their white toast for some reason, that they make by combining all of the ideas, including polka dot. Polka dot doesn't even know what the fuck they were, by the way, in the channel. Apparently, the reversed audio, according to one of the comments, is apparently it was changed the channel, but I don't know, because I of course cannot understand reverse text. I'm trusting the comment section on that one. Big fan of the fact that they get Words with Friends Tao and Polka Dot to have a conversation in the credits where we can't hear it, because you can still understand what they're saying. I think they're saying I don't know, right? They pull up the IDK, which is very cool. That's just a cool detail. I like that a lot. And that's the episode. We'll see what's happening. We'll see what's going on. It's time for some more. Episode 5 is entitled 57 Tiers of the Star. Go. Alright, so that is episode 5 of It's Time for the Now. Yet again, another episode that I feel like plot-wise, we are mildly chilling out, because I think that the main components, I think we're kinda getting it, right? There's the chat, we get it. The channels, they are something to do with polka dot, right? The polka dot landscape is the portals directly involved with other channels, right? And in this case, what ends up happening throughout this episode, right, is the channels proceed to glitch out, and not necessarily channels proceed to glitch out, but like characters from various channels proceed to kind of get get thrown here. Sorry, not prevent. They get thrown here from their original landscape, and we end up having like a billion things pop out. You can't go in, but things can, get thrown away. Which is relatively interesting. And while that happens, we end up having Clock drop by. Clock is green for some reason this time. And they're plugged into something. They seem to be plugged in. So, something is going on. They took a nap. Now, where was the nap? What's going on? Not exactly sure. But there's a bit of I don't know. There's a bit of a question, right? Now, what is my current theory right now, if I've watched it, is that obviously, right, the similarity between the character, right, on like that we see at the end of the last two episodes, which I'm pretty sure is Lucas, along with Clock, cannot be understated, right? Like, that's obviously a relevant detail, right? Clock is the algebraianistic variant of that character on the dot, right? And it seems like, they're grabbing a popcorn, they're dropping down to the television, and it's almost like they're the outside world in a way, right? Like, that's the initial sense I'm feeling here, because it's like, okay, right? If you have it would kind of make sense, because they're plugged into like the mainframe or something, right? The sky to the edge of the universe, right? They unplug and you can see kind of the channel glitching out there towards the end of the episode, right? I know that I'm talking about this episode hella out of order, but like, the lore tends to even itself out at the end of it, and I'm focusing more on that than the general viewings of the show here, right? They unplug, it turns kind of green, channel, right, is playing out 57, right, and all that stuff, which, by the way, 57 Tears of the Star is in the title. Still don't actually know what that means. I know Tears of the Star is a song, but like, what? But yeah, all this stuff's ongoing, so I'm kind of thinking, okay, Clock's plugged in, then gets unplugged, so then that might break the television, right? That would make sense. The television is broken after they sit down to use it with the popcorn that they seem to have for some reason, right? For that they made in the last hour, because again, remember, we're doing an hour by hour. So yeah, that seems to be. It seems to be like Lucas is not involved in channels, so they are like outside world. And the channels are inside world. So how does that connect? What does that, like, you see? I don't know what any of it means. I'm connecting dots, but I don't know what the destination is. Right? It's like when Google Maps tells you to drive in a direction, but it doesn't know. But like, you don't know where the destination is. Right? Google Maps is just like, I'm gonna take you somewhere. Right? Like, it's not a real thing, but it could be. Right? So like. That's kind of going on. That's kind of what I'm thinking right now. But either way, we end up having here our episodes. There's a new show in that case. 510 Jasonville TV continues to be apparently relevant here. As we continue to switch channels, though. Yet again, Jasonville TV is not the other channels. When you switch channel, something's going on. We don't have any identification for another channel. That's kind of the thing that we're still locked behind. We don't have any identification for the other channel, which is interesting. We're gonna need to kind of know here. The characters continue to do their classic shenanigans, like, again, I've not talked about it in a while, but like, the amount of timing related gags continues to be a lot. They've like mildly reduced, I would say, as the characters have been reduced, but like a character like Words of Friend style is very, very, very fun to watch always, right? That kind of high energy. Refill Station as well. The more chill characters, however, are also very useful for the show, kind of like No Way or like Polka Dot. They are useful. I mean, Polka Dot's useful in different reasons, but like all that stuff's useful. Anyways, Well drops by. Character entitled Well drops by in the show. Everybody's, for some reason, hella freaked out from Well. And then during the course of the elimination, about 4 billion people proceed to drop by. And these 4 billion people proceeds to drop by during the course of the elimination, where the eliminated contestant proceeds to be Wheel, right? Yeah, Wheel proceeds to get eliminated. They end up doing one from Ep.123, except, they predicted it, so fair enough. Yeah, it just kind of cracks the character. So, okay. We end up doing that. Wheel is gone, by the way. Does that make sense? Yeah, I think it was about time, right? We got it. It was fun, but the character quality as time has gone on between the character, I feel like it's been pretty high. Right, the average character quality of this show is very high, which is the thing that's really empowering this as a show right now, right? It's empowering it as a show right now because that main cast component is very strong. I enjoy all of them. I watch all of them, right? Which is something that the large casters kind of struggle with. And speaking of large cast, all of these fellas get the chance to debut. They get to participate in this one challenge. And they get the opportunity to debut as the 35 of them, I think, proceed to go in on their various teams. And the winning challenge proceed, and the winners don't actually get to do anything. The winners, I don't think the winners earn anything in this challenge. They just kind of exist, right? It's just a challenge to showcase them. If you win, you'll get showcased as useful, right? So it's like a self-help. There's a lot of new faces. These new faces are very, very much so got a lot going on. They all follow the philosophy, and by the way, this show is that challenge component was done very well. You can see it was done clean. It was done nicely. The team sort of interacted with each other, despite the fact that they all were heading towards the same goal, and there being many teams, 40 total characters, right? All that stuff's going on. You can see that it's paced well, that it's written well, that it's all doing great, because you can see that this show is cashing in that DNA, right? This show has absolutely DNA from the large cast object shows, right? From Animatic Battle, from BFB. So for a minute here, for the sake of this challenge, we decide to write it like so, right? Like those early BFBs. And yeah, that's about what happens. Yeah, it definitely cashes it in, and it does it in a good way. Now, one thing which I would like to point out here is that every character also follows the general philosophy of how a character in ITFT is, right? Which even though there's a lot of these potential debutantes, you can see how nearly all of them follow some degree of special sound in a way, right? The voice acting, not really something that I've actually pointed out for ITFT a lot, but the voice acting is very, very distinctive. I said it with words with friends out, but this is just generally true, right? There's a focal point in ITFT voice acting to make a voice that is very, very distinct. Pretty much no character has a voice that you could confuse with another voice, right? They're very, very, very distinct. The words went massively, right? And you can see it with these debutantes that this is all being showcased, right? The Unstapy. There you go, right? The kind of more fully voiced, because the mouth has to be open, right? Same thing goes for the Fridge DJ and the TI, the TI-30, right? Those are also doing that. Zero with the super low down. I don't care type of voice. Buddy, of course, being another character with the mega fast voice, right? All this stuff's going on. Even a character like the Star Jar had a sort of interesting way of pronouncing, right? Same thing goes for the Whiteberry as well, having also that kind of more soft-spoken voice, but with a more sort of manic feel to it. All of that is there, and there's a voice direction to all of it. Everything here has a voice direction, which is very interesting. And what do I think about that? I think that it's good. I think that it's good. It can, again, sometimes make your characters feel mildly less human if they, of course, have a unrealistic voice for a character to ever have. But it's not. This isn't a show where that's the goal in any type of way, right? And it makes pretty much any candidate here feel realistically like they would be on board for possibly joining. Now, in terms of who's gonna join, unfortunately, I don't think they're not, like, I'm pretty sure TI-30 joins, right? But this is just due to meta reasons. I wouldn't. To be honest, I wouldn't predict you TI-30. I would predict you Inky, because I think Inky is cool. I like that as a concept, right? A character that's kind of, it's more fluid, right? Which considering movement gimmick is something that a lot of the characters in ITFT currently have, right? With Polka Dot, with Sun, with some other characters, right? And Inky having that kind of like baseline body, but then also the ink that can move around, that can, go down and go high. Like all of that stuff could be interesting. Maybe could blend in with water, right? Which has been, a core component as well. Like, there's a lot of things that you could do with Inky, and I would personally let them in, and they got a lot of screen time in that original design. Someone just shouted outside, "Yo, it was good," yeah, all of that stuff's ongoing. So that would personally be who I would brought in, but I'm pretty sure they don't come in. Also, I do have to, of course, point out, in the Catchup ecosystem, we've seen Shrimpy before. Shrimpy is in freaking hype. Bro, words cannot describe the confusion when I saw Shrimpy in hype. When I saw Shrimpy in hype, I was like, yo, that's a character. When I saw Shrimpy here now, I was like, wait a minute. What the hell are you doing here? I got kind of confused. I got confuzzled there. I'm not gonna lie. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for that. But all of that stuff is ongoing. We end up having the credit. What's the post credit? Let's take a look at these post credit, right? So you seem asleep. You seem like you took a... Wait, you took a nap! Wait! Clock said they took a nap. This Luke guy, right? They woke up from a nap. Hold the minute. Hold the phone, bro. Hold the phone. Something is up with this. I didn't even notice that the guy took a nap. He totally took a nap. I've never seen more taking a nap in my life. Okay, what? This is very interesting. There's another channel. I do this stuff is going on. Another detail that I would like to point out as a pretty cool detail is the sun, by the way. Like for example, like when the no flyers allowed rule yet again comes into play, the sun got brought down, and then it turns into nighttime because the sun is underground, so they don't light up the world anymore. That's rather cool. It is something that I was kind of thinking about when I was when I was originally envisioning the series, because is it gonna slowly turn it into nighttime as the hours go on? Now that the sun is a contestant, that's a little bit complicated. It'll just kind of be daytime, and then the sun gets eliminated and it's nighttime, right? I think we're probably... But, the show does need to do that at some point, so that means that the sun probably needs a scientifically engineered elimination. Right? That's something that's gonna happen, and I mean, it's gonna be interesting, I guess. The elimination of the sun. Of course, when you eliminate something that's technically so integral for the universe existing, can you really do that? Many shows have tried to sort of form that dilemma, right? Have their own take of it, like II with the floor and stuff. I mean, BFDI hasn't had the opportunity to eliminate Black Hole yet, but I'm sure something would happen, right? The big shows do tend to try that out from time to time, because it's kind of an interesting range here to possibly take it in. As the fellas are ongoing. The teams that get formed, by the way, I enjoy the teams. I like the fact that they're also, of course, directly correlated to the names. They're actually understandable. Actually understandable here, the teams, the team names, right, rather than the usual. Because I mean, the olden team names, right, they got formed. Despite the fact that this show, this is the third time Right? It's the third time that this show has done a team construction sequence, right? Like a team forming sequence. It's like, if you're a fan of Big Show team forming sequence, you can love this. You're gonna love this show. This show's big into that. This show's big into doing that. Alright, I'm telling you, bro. This is the top tier. Would never. But like, yeah, every time, the teams, it's been like Team Yes, Team Bruh, Team Earth, or whatever, right? And it's like, okay, I mean, all right, then you can do that, I guess, but I'm not really sure. The only thing that I'm trying to figure out is, why is the clock green? That's kind of what I've been thinking about. I've been thinking about it. And it's like, why is the clock green? Because like, if it wasn't green, like, I get it, but like, the clock is green. That's not normal, because look, like, why could that be? It's not electricity, but the surges of electricity are also green. But I guess it's the channel. It's the channel. No, because the channel switcher is green, right? Okay, so I guess that's what's going on. Maybe I could like presume. Also, idea, right? Idea that I'm imagining here, right? Is that if there's somebody watching the TV, right? If like Lucas or something, if they're watching the telly, okay, the television, could that possibly imply that the channel switches, right? Like the switch in the channel that ends up happening is directly correlated to the Lucas switching it. That could be something, because because it always seems to tune back in when when it's time for that happens. So it's almost like there's somebody tuned into the television, because they're looking into it. Yeah. Because it's like, hold on, if there's somebody tuned into the television, right? That means that they switch the channel at the hour, right? We get to see like ITFT, right? Then you end it, okay, the credits roll, and then you switch the channel, and then you get to see another show, right? And that would make sense for some certain other things, like the polka dot portal telling you change the channel, almost trying to tell the person to change the channel. Like, I mean, that's interesting. That's an interesting theory. I mean, every theory that I'm doing here is directly sort of engaging with the concept that this clock fella, which again I'm 90% sure Lucas is the bro's name, I'm engaging with it under the presumption that they're on the outside watching the show, right? That's like that's like the presumption I'm playing. If it's wrong, then we're back at square zero. But hey, look, I'm theorizing live. This is a lot of this Big Show talk. A lot of this top dog talk is very much so like sort of in universe talk, which because again on an outside perspective, it's like, again, with the top dog shows, they're top dog shows. I don't need to be here and tell you it's time for the show that has 8 episodes over 1 million views is a good show. Like, you just know that. Like, you just have you just know that already. I don't need to sit here and be like, the show is good. Like, yes, the world agrees. Like, I'm out here to represent a general experience of what it's like for me, who's, I got at this point watched a lot of shows, to look into this show, what I notice about the plot, what I notice about the writing, what I notice about the technical aspect, all of these things, and kind of combining them, just kind of what I notice from a first time viewer experience right now of the show, from the modern day, watching through the initial episodes, which I think is useful. I think it's hopefully a unique perspective, and I say this for nearly all of the top dog shows, right? It's like, it's a perspective that is a little bit different, and I hope is interesting to observe. Episode 6 of It's Time for The is entitled, Will You Ever Know? Go. Alright, that is ITFT 6, Will You Ever Know? And that episode feels like a big deal because it's the first episode that's really given off like mildly different vibes than the rest. You know, like it's longer, but it's not actually longer technically. It's exactly the same length as the previous episode. But despite the fact that it's exactly the same length as the previous episode, this one has less to explain. You know, like this one has less to explain. But it still takes longer because it's doing a more like proper challenge, you know, like it's doing a more proper kind of what you'd expect from large cast object show type of challenge. And I mean, yet again, does it manage to do it? Yes, it manages to do it to a nice level of success, right? You can see that the episodes get longer as soon as this additional pile of characters get in, because you just need to physically write more stuff, right? So like that makes sense, but then not just that, the challenges, now that we have this additional pile of characters, you'll also notice end up significantly more focused on movement. That's actually an interesting detail that I find about the large casters, is that more challenges, like the larger cast, it feels like the challenges tend to be more focused on movement, right? Because like because when you have this many people, I guess a lot of the idea is to shift around the people, right? You gotta kind of shift it around, because otherwise you're gonna have like a big pile, like 30 people on the same like field. Then that doesn't really make sense, right? So like get them to try to climb a rope, get them to like go across the earth, so that way it splits, right? Like that's kind of, because that's always the thing that you want with like large cast writing, right? That's always like kind of the goal. You're trying to segment it as much as possible to make it more digestible, right? It's like a steak, okay? If you try to just eat a whole ass steak in one bite, it doesn't work, right? You need to chop it into sections, so that way you can eat section by section, right? Otherwise, you know, that's my analogy of all time. All right, like but yeah, that's kind of what I mean. But yeah, it tends to do that. We begin the episode with a flashing lights warning. Yes, a flashing lights and loud noises warning. I'm always gonna just mildly call out shows that start putting flashing lights warnings like freaking halfway through the show. It's like, you definitely got big, and then you went like, oh shit, I need to do this now. You always gotta, I don't know, I'm always gonna call out a show that does that. It's good to do that, like yes, you should put in the flashing lights and loud noises warnings, absolutely. But I also gonna point out that we're putting it now because it's a big show, right, and before it wasn't. But either way, we end up beginning here with an interesting advertisement that is playing around from No Stains. Apparently, you know, No Stains. And you know what I'm finding possible theory is that I'm noticing that there's this like fella in this ad is animated a little bit differently, and they're looking a lot like a berry. You know, like, I don't know who that is. Like, that's not the shape of any character that, like, black goo with, like, a weird outline. But the fact that it's so different almost makes it seem like a placeholder, you know? Like, if that was Shrimpy, or if that was, like, that one Happy Berry, right? Like, you could maybe give in the idea that that's like the placeholder for what happens when a character gets taken away, because that's one of the main ideas, right, that I'm getting a little bit lost in right now, right? It's that missing is that I feel like it would have shown by now what happened to the channels which those fellas would have been originally from, right? The new people, right? Because they all dropped down from portals and shit. Okay, but then it's like, okay, but like, what are the portals doing now, right? Because like, if you take a fella from a different channel and they're now here, it's like, well, what happened to them in the channel, right? Because I mean, so far as we know, the polka dot portals lead to most likely different channels, right? That seems to make the most sense. Although, like, not all the time. I mean, there was one that led into space, and I mean, I don't know if there's a space channel, but like, there's certain things that are they're kind of interesting, but I don't know. I guess we're gonna need to see. Then we end up having some new ads. As again, we see some more channels. But there's also a very interesting thing, however, that you can do with the specific time system, right? Is that you have to realize that we are witnessing every channel at exactly at the same time as the regular show, because we're flicking through the channels, which means that, for example, this music channel, right, that we end up seeing here at the beginning, it's theoretically 6 o'clock, right? It's 6 p.m., right? Which means that last time we saw it was at 5 p.m., I think, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was the last episode that we saw it, right? And that means, right, that, like, we're seeing that the channel's programming exactly 1 hour after. We know that Channel 57's programming is just ITFT every hour, but like we're checking out these other channels, and like, yeah, things are happening, right? Which is interesting, like, to see kind of how the program will maybe switch. But anyways, the world is freezing because the sun is on the other side of the planet. Now, I will point out, though, that it is mildly... I mean, like, the sun did go to the other side of the planet, but, like, the fact that it's already freezing... Like, if the sun was gone, I get it, but if the sun's just on the other side, then it should theoretically be fine. But I guess it was underground, so, you know, whatever. But yeah, they're freezing up, and then we end up having the results for the debut, where the debutante ended up being none other than TI-30. Yep, that was indeed the character which I knew was in fact joining ITFT, because yet again, you know I said at the start of the video, I don't know anything. Okay, I don't know anything. I know the people. Right, like, I have witnessed the characters of ITFT in the past. You know, I've seen them by just being in the OSC, right? Like, you just see them, whether it's a GIF or whatever, right? So, like, I see TI-30, like, before. I've seen, like, a character like Lucas before. Like, I've seen those characters with my eyes, you know? Like, I don't know anything about them. I just saw them. Like, I'm discovering the character for the first time, but I do know it exists, right? But anyways, we end up having TI-30 eventually join. We end up having a new, a mild variant of the interchange. I'm not sure if this will be consistent, because there's no more wheel now to, of course, kickstart the intro. So we end up having TI-30 kickstart the intro this time, and they end up having some sort of remix. Polka Dot's entry, I think, is mildly changed to allow the portal variation to actually be showcased in the intro, and wheel is placed near the finish of the intro as well. So that's all ongoing, and then we end up having the challenge. Get to the other side of the world to get to the sun. This challenge is I'm not a big fan of it. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not a big fan of it. I'm not actually a big fan of it. It's very challenge. it's one of the challenges of all time, right? Like, it's just kind of like get to a place that's theoretically impossible to get to, so the actual challenge doesn't exist really, you know? Like, the way that a character will get to it will be random, and the way that a character won't get to it will be kind of random. So I'm not like an enormous fan of that challenge, to be honest. And as I said, I don't know when, by like episode 3, that like the flow state, like what was really helping the vibe of the show, like, and then kind of achieve the flow state, is that format, right? Because those early episodes, right, they were iterating and evolving. However, they had the baseline, right? There was that baseline thing that was happening, you know, and like that baseline was like kind of like the structure, right? Like in the end of the day, we're at an environment. We'll do a challenge that takes like 4 minutes on this grass plane. That's relatively simple. There's like 8 characters that are gonna do it, and then there's the channels intros and outros, and the RG stuff might intercept in it a bit more or a bit less depending on the episode. But that's all. That was all in kind of like the pitch for the show. Right, like in terms of the pitch, those first batch of episodes, that's what it did. This feels like the first episode that's really gonna try to stray away from it, right? Like this is the first episode that has that I feel like distinctly changes it. Animation was always relatively high level in this show, but this episode is also the most show-off it's ever been, right? By attempting to do proper fight scenes and some proper cooler moments. It does it significantly more often than other situations, right? And it also experiments with animation, guys, a little bit more than before. Or like camera angles and stuff. So like we get to see the no way side angle and stuff. Things like the lighting in the bug section, like all of that stuff's kind of ongoing. And overall, yeah, I would say that this is the first episode that kind of switches the vibe away from the format. It breaks away. I'm not necessarily an enormous fan of how it breaks away though, because it's very just kind of this is how a big show episode tends to be, But like, all right, then, cool. I guess we'll go with that. Anyhow, we proceeded to have a very interesting moment here with No Way, by the way, in the middle. Yet again, the characters, they get down using various tactics. But No Way, well, let's not skip it. Let's not skip us talking. No Way proceeds to team up with Shrimpy because Shrimpy convinced them to, so they got an extra team member for the one. Polka Dot and the wind-up toy proceed to fly over together. Team Word, which is now Inky, and the other fellas, the Swag fellas, end up trying to help out but it doesn't work because it's stuck. That's fair. Then, however, the refill dispenser, along with whatever the hell the other character was, I don't remember what they are, end up accidentally falling in to one of the polka dot portals. Right, they end up falling into one of the polka dot portals. They end up doing some swagalicious move to manage to yeet themselves out. And the polka dot eventually manages to do that. They eventually catch on at the last minute to the wind-up toy before they fall, and they decide, let's just walk here, right? The 830 keeps running along the edge, and they eventually manage to get there. That makes sense. They were the first going there. Skateboard's upset because they're like, what? I'm trying to leave. I'm trying to escape, and y'all came here. But yeah, the skateboard cannot be bothered and keeps trying to walk out. Clock yet again with some smooth animation makes the 830 be safe. All right, so that is pretty cool. Then Team Refill is safe because Refill manages to get onto it. They're pretty fast, to be fair. So they are safe. Then we proceed to have No Way. Now No Way proceeds to say something kind of interesting. During the last challenge, I saw something, can't describe it, but it feels like one of those things that you're not supposed to see, Okay, I get it, because you definitely saw the channel, right? Like, you unplugged it, you saw CH57 at the edge of the universe. That is something that would be usually considered a suspicious thing. I do gotta admit, it's very difficult for me to consider you as believing that to be a suspicious thing, because it's like, I get why giant letters in the sky would be weird, right? But like, you've just spent the last 6 hours with Clock. If I spent 1 hour with Clock, nothing in the universe would ever feel weird again. Right? Like, that's kind of the imagination. Like, I get it. We're pushing the plot forward and stuff, right? But like, I don't know if I believe that that's how that would happen. I might disagree. I'm really struggling to believe that No Way, who's seen their essence taken half off and cloned into a weird 144p variant of themselves considers text in the sky saying 57 to be weird, right? Like, there's enough weird things going on in this universe as is. But, like, okay. Anyways, Vase proceeds to talk down to the Star Pot. Now, apparently the Star Pot is one of those fate people, right? One of those, like, I know the fate, I know what's gonna happen to the universe and stuff type of characters. And they proceed to tell the Vase that they will lose. You can't change the fate. You will just lose, which is interesting. Why would you even say that, though? Why would you say that? Characters that know the future, there's not actually that many because they're a little bit kind of, they're kind of awkward to really to write in, because it's like the realisticness, because like here's the thing. If you know exactly what is going to happen, right, then it's like, why would one ever do anything? Right, that's like you see, that's the complication of knowing fate, right? Like, that's the main dilemma with it. If you know exactly what's going to happen all the time, why would you ever do anything? Those are the questions. And I haven't really seen any media really come up with an answer. If you know any media that comes up with an answer to that dilemma, right? That dilemma of, like, if you were to know the fate, why would you ever do anything? Let me know, because like most people that know future, I feel like they don't want to know future. Like, that's kind of the thing about it. That's what they tend to do. Anyways, DJ Fridge proceeds to be evil. So yeah, that's interesting. They kind of break off the ice. Now, why are they evil? I don't actually know. Like, I mean, they got frozen. I guess, right? Like, they got frozen, and then they got frozen, and that made them, I guess, tear off, and then they got evil supervillain mode. But like, I don't actually know why. To be honest, like, why did they do that? Like, what upset them? I don't know. But either way, we proceed to yet again go on more side tangents as Words with Friends style proceeds to go over there with Inky and tell them about the time they were in middle school, and as they were in middle school they were bullied, and then they found sunglasses and now they're super cool. And anyways, they proceed to ho Merry Christmas, and then they made it. This is again, trying to logic this show out isn't really a thing that you can perform, right? And like, that's something that we've understood from Second Zero, but like, it's just, does it blend well with this format? Because you see, it's doing the whole time randomness shenanigan, right? That it's performing, right? And then it's putting it, however, onto this kind of large cast challenge type format, where, like, to some degree, though, people that make it should make sense, right? Like, to some degree, a challenge completion should feel reasonable. It can be unsatisfying, but it should be reasonable to why it's happened, right? Where like, in this show, that's not the case. In this show, an elimination just happens. Like, a team of burned bread won. Like, things just happen in this show because that's how it goes. But with this type of system, I don't know if it's quite compatible. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I don't quite. Yeah, I would say that, like, well, it's a nicely paced episode, and it's got a lot of cool little animation moments, right, in it. Especially animators do a good job. I mean, by the way, they always do a good job. Like, they do always do a good job, but like, they do always do a good job, especially with Clock. But like, in this episode, they're especially doing a good job nearly all the time, because there's more scenes to show off. Like, this episode maybe isn't for me. We end up having the core of the earth show up. I'm not sure why the core of the earth is just a rock and not like boiling, but we'll pretend. Corey proceeds to drop by. They're trying to help people. It doesn't really work. We end up having the sun. Well, by the way, the sun gets shrunk down. Proper black hole scenario. For the sake of the challenge, I think it's multiplied or whatever. But either way, they keep trying to find the toy. They keep trying to find Forky, who of course didn't follow with them. Even though the sun could have probably made it to the finish and not work. But all that stuff is ongoing. The fridge DJ, I guess getting the short makes the fridge DJ evil, because falling into lava is obviously Shrimpy's fault. That's one of the things which everybody knows. However, of course, then there's the gag of kind of like overly happy character against evil monster, right? And they do eventually manage to make it. The Corey kind of pulls the fridge DJ in, being like, "Oh no, you should stay here." They manage to make it. The No Way team. And therefore, the other fellas are up for elimination. The Sun, Vase, or Polka Dot. One is going to get out. I mean, the Sun and Polka Dot tend to be the mega fans, right? And eliminating Polka Dot is just a terrible idea. Getting Polka Dot being as unbelievably relevant as Polka Dot is, makes this show tread very treacherous waters by ever putting Polka Dot up for elimination. Because if Polka Dot gets eliminated, is this show not fucked? How the hell does anything ever progress? Polka Dot is like so irrelevant, so that's kind of interesting. The presumption is Vase gets out, not because of anything, but just because the other two are kind of superpowers in voting. But I might be wrong, we'll need to see. And then at the final moment, we have Channel 62, which is interesting. So Lucas does sometimes show up on a channel as well, though, which is interesting. But they are also observing the television, though, which, you see them observe television. So it's almost like there's a channel for the channel, and then you get to see the weather kind of be broken. I don't know. I'm gonna be the first to tell you right now. I don't know. Okay, we'll need to see. Episode 7 of It's Time for the is entitled none other than Stop and Look. Realize. Go. Okay, ITFT 7, now it's time for the 7, I would say that this was good. I personally would say that I prefer this type of episode, because you see, here's the thing that happens, right, is just that kind of setting, I don't know what it is about this show, but when the show is grounded in a location, I think it pulls through the best of it. It's kind of weird about it, right? And I mean, okay, yes, we do, of course, go to the polka dot pattern, but we're never off, right? We're never permanently leaving, right? In the other case where we were traveling, right? We're in a spot or in a spot, but traveling is, I don't know. I don't think this show can do that as much, right? When it does that, like it did for episode 6, I don't know, it was losing a little bit of the spark, because I feel like it significantly reduced the amount of timing gags that it could do, right? It was still a good episode. Don't get me wrong, it was still a pretty good episode, but it was a little bit of a good episode that was feeling a little bit more standard, and it was, I was maybe not as convinced, because this show, it's got something special going on with it, so the pure standardness is a little bit kind of but this feels like a return to form. This is kind of what I enjoy. So a present drops down from the sky, and Clock is absolutely really wants to open it. They can't get themselves to open it, but they really want to open. They want to open it a lot, right? Despite the fact they want to do that, well, then the question becomes why? Why are they so enamored by this present? It really does bring in the idea of a superior. right? It brings in the idea of a validation, right? The idea that somebody gotta be appeased, right? I think that brings the idea back because it was the original theory, right? I mean, if Clark doesn't know what's happening, but somebody's making the characters who are eliminated go away, then that theoretically, right, would give the implication that there's a big boss man, right? That there's somebody in a higher position of power than Clark themselves when it comes to this show, right? And despite that, right, like, and I kind of faded a little bit because it was like, okay, but what's going on, right? Then there's this Lucas fella. Is Lucas big boss man? Surely not, right? But like all of these things are, they're kind of occurring. Right? And now, however, with this episode, yet again being like, oh, I'm so happy to get a present. It's almost like you got a present from the sky, right? Like it's like you got a present from Big Boss Man, and you were happy. Like, oh, am I doing the good work, or like something like that? But I don't know. We'll kind of need to see. By the way, thing that mild criticism, I guess here is that like, you know, how does the sun work? So, like, apparently the idea... So, like, I think the concept of how it works is that, like, in the other side of the world, there was the sun. And on this side of the world, there is a red sun. So that means that both sides of the world were being lit at the same time. Right? Which is why there wasn't the logic of, like, the sun rotating. Because the suns are stationary, but they light up a different portion, I think is the idea. Because like I was kind of wondering, because if it isn't, like, then it doesn't make sense. Because if the sun pops in, right, on the other side of the world, that should be dark getting light, not the other way around, right? I think it goes like, for example, if the sun was the only sun around that side of the world, right, then that would theoretically imply that when you, for example, went to the polka dot lands, right, when you went with polka dot away from the world should go back to freezing because they're away, they're gone, it should go dark, right? But no, there's a different sun around that sector that isn't just the sun. So that's kind of interesting. That's kind of interesting. Do I like that? Yeah, sure. I mean, it solves the inevitable problems that you might have had, like, you know, it having to turn nighttime. That because like by having two permanent suns, it's theoretically never nighttime, right? Which means that you don't need to forcibly do a nighttime thing, and this means that you can now eliminate the sun in theory. Without actually, you know, needing to go out of your way to make permanent changes to the environment. So it's a little bit kind of, it's preparing for a sun elimination. A sun elimination has not happened. But like, Polka Dot's feeling kind of bad after the last challenge. The wind-up toy is feeling bad for her. But we end up having the Clark be heavily distracted while trying to host the elimination, because, you know, they have this present that they really want to open, and Polka Dot proceeds to claim the votes. 21,000 votes. That's a lot. The number is increasing. Yeah, this is one of the most interesting things about ITFT, and it's outside of ITFT. It's the status of ITFT, right? Because, like, the thing about this show is that, like, as far as top dogs are concerned, right, it's got I would say the most interesting views of any of them, because it has this, like, not a very high peak, right? Like, episode 1 of ITFT has 2.3 million views or something, right? However, despite the fact that it has 2 million views, out of the top dog, that's not a lot, right? But it just coasts it, right? Most shows, top episode, shit ton, and then it drops off, right? It drops. This show, it doesn't drop for ages. It drops immediately to 1 million, but it coats at 1.2, 1.3 million for ages, right? It just never stops. It never loses an audience, and it debatably gains it as time goes on, which is very interesting. it's very, very, very interesting to see how like this show has kind of is allergic to losing viewers. It manages to do something very difficult, which is convince the mid-season, right? It convinces in mid-season for viewers to actually watch, which is kind of crazy, right? And I mean, look, yeah, it's I don't know, it's very interesting to me personally. Like, like I'm looking at it. The second most viewed episode of ITFT is the sixth one. It's the last one. You know, the one that I wasn't like an enormous fan of, right? But it was kind of standard. I guess the standard people noticed. I'm kidding. But like it's interesting. Like like how's that happen? You know, like it's very, very weird. So the fact that the most votes ever are in episode 7 is crazy. But either way, Sun gets half of those votes because it's the Sun. And then Vase proceeds to get eliminated. Yeah, no shit. This is kind of obvious elimination. I can't really lie with you, and say that. Wow, who would it have been? No, come on. We have yet another intro variation. This time it's pixelated, but you can tell because Vase is actually first, right? Instead of TIA to be the first character to show up in the intro, it's Vase to show up in the intro first. We have an interesting rewind to the intro in a way, as it's kind of compressed. My personal view is that you probably should, like, it's doing a lot of general, like, the television jargon is important, obviously, with the channels and stuff, but, like, I don't think that the time controls are necessarily relevant, right? Because, like, sometimes where we've seen pause or rewind or fast forward, like, I don't think that's relevant. I think that's just written gags. But, like, certain other things are relevant. In terms of the writing philosophy, we haven't talked about the writing philosophy for a while. But, like, yeah, I mean, we are still absolutely, like, at the end of the day, taking time as our main philosophy in writing it. Even in the last episode, which I would say felt more standard, right? Like, it still played into time with, for example, the Star Pot, or whatever the character was called, that could see the future. That's a time-related character, right? With this episode, you know, like, all the stuff's happening with a correlation to suspense and to time, right? To the suspense of the package, right? With like a lot of this stuff is going on, right? Which is interesting. Anyways, for some reason, refill station proceeds to get sent all the way over to the other side of the universe and gets swapped out with with Hourglass, because I mean, look, there's no okay. We got to talk for a minute. Refill station is getting cooked. Poor refill station, dude. I really hope refill station stays in because they're fun, but like, I must admit, they are getting cooked by writing. Like, that we do not, like, the writers, bro. What are we doing? Why do we not want refill station in so much? What did refill station do to you? It's like 2 different episodes now that we've just intentionally made refill station a non-factor, right? And it's like every other character is so irrelevant because there aren't that many. And then there's refill station who just gets to be stuck there and doesn't even know what to do. Like, it's like, bro, what? What is, like, we're trying to scientifically engineer an elimination and it's currently not working. Like, come on now. What are we doing, bro? Oh my god. But we end up having the challenge take place, and the challenge is to open the box because Clock won't open the box. However, Clock won't actually give the box. That's where the actual challenge part of the challenge proceeds to play. This is an interesting challenge because it's one of the first couple of challenges that is theoretically like that has fluctuating time. I mean, the getting through the world challenge does have fluctuating time, and the last 2 challenges have had fluctuating time, like, yes, but in general they're kind of like do a thing which takes a quotable amount of time, right? Like it's a race. Somebody will do it. Somebody will win the race at the end of the day, right? But like this is the first challenge that has a fluctuating timers, and it is just possible that nobody manages to get the time for the clock. That manages to get the present off clock, right? Like that's 100. That's a possibility, right? And then if nobody manages to get it, time will overrun, and the one thing that the show cannot do is run late, right? So that's interesting. But anyways, Words with Friends style becomes is very, very sort of pushy in this episode. They're very much trying to do styles and stuff, do strats and stuff. With Inky, who's the bro. The bro. Am I getting better? Am I getting better at it? How do you do this voice? Help me. Alright. But yeah, for some reason they're asking TI-30 if they can win, as if TI-30 is managing to do it anyways, which they're completely not. No way he ends up doing a side plot with Fridge DJ, because they remember Fridge DJ as doing the murderies. Shrimp and the Berry don't actually remember that, but the Battery fella seems to, so they'll seem to try to see what Fridge DJ is doing, but Fridge DJ is cool. Look, it seems as if, Fridge DJ is cool character, right? You just gotta not freeze them to death, and then we'll be fine. Alright, so that's kinda what I'm thinking, I guess. Again, playing hide and seek, playing tag, I'd say relatively time-based things. There's some more music stuff. Music is very consistent in these episodes. Like that's an absolute staple of the writing style. I really will say it though. Like I am kind of surprised that more shows don't try it. I feel like more shows should probably try to implement an element or another from this, right? Some do. I would say that, I don't know, Modern Invasion, for example, uses music a little bit kind of like this, but a lot of the elements of how this show writes things, a lot of the formula for here, I feel like is barely ever taken, but it's very functional. I feel like you can, if you're high level enough, you should probably try to take some elements from it. But I guess it's just kind of I guess it's the matter of what is the goal, kind of when you're making a show, right? Because I feel like nowadays the top level has shifted a little bit, right? It's this is the side. Wow, I'm realizing the side tangent that I'm about to go on right now, and it's 4 hours long. But kind of what I'm thinking is that it almost feels as if nowadays, right, especially now that BFTA and Teapot take up so much of the, now that II's back, now that BFTA and Teapot are very safe in the schedule, right? They will get new episodes. We just believe, we believe that it is happening, right? It's almost as if the place in the culture for new object shows is kind of, I would say, diminishing, which means that the new object shows that do show up in the culture, right, they've tended to be more so along the lines of sort of breaking free from the principles, right, and trying something totally distinct, right? Or for example, shows with totally different art styles, or shows with different levels of seriousness and stuff, right? And this specific type of just kind of generally just full kind of silly wacky hoes doing shenanigans, right? I feel like most of the top level that doesn't really exist anymore. I think the most modern variant of that is Orbit, right? But in terms of the top level does not try this anymore. And it's just kind of the fellas that are already there have taken up, be okay, these are the shows that do this. It's there's an agreement. Animatic Battle and ITFT and something else that I forgot the name of, they get to be the city shows. You know, they get to be silly with random other story, but like they get to be the shows with the wacky host. Okay, other shows, no, you only get popular if you don't do that. You know, there's like an interesting thing going on there. But anyways, we've got an episode to talk about. Surprisingly enough, that I am absolutely stalling out talking about it. There is quite a couple of things going on that I should... Okay, let's actually talk about this. So, portal randomly opens up. A polka dot portal proceeds to open up for some reason. The polka dot doesn't open it, and they end up going over into a different world where they find a store, where for some reason everything is in the back of the store, with buried computer, which is... pretty interesting, the seedless strawberries, and they end up getting a couple of things utilizing various... They fail to get the cage for ages because they end up getting a bird cage on accident, and then the son really wanted toys for some reason, and then they also end up ordering a keyboard for some reason, but apparently it is the magical keyboard as well that happens to exist now. They end up getting the magical keyboard that was given to them by somebody very wise a long time ago. Okay, interesting. That might be relevant. That seems like something that could possibly have the powers, right? Because, I mean, like, they're capable of impacting clock, for example, right? By spawning a bubble on them and stuff. So, some things are, in fact, ongoing. Hourglass is... there you get to they're utilizing the hourglass gimmick a lot more because I mean I don't know how long Hourglass gets to be in this episode, but Hourglass being like overly tactitious object shonian right, like overly tactitious reality show character, doing confessionals and whatever and journals, like it's kind of like that's a fun gag here. And it is something that I absolutely... It's one of the main things that I do have to commend this show for doing, is that it, unlike many of the shows around it, did not cheap out in like, debut. It did not cheap out in debut. I mean, of course it shouldn't cheap out in debut because the debutantes are here. Like, they didn't leave. But, like, it knows exactly what every debutant would add to the story, you know, like it reads into how the ITFT characters are, right? How they all have like certain traits that absolutely define them, right? And every debutant character fits into that. Like if you look at the main things that ITFT does to differentiate a character from another, every debutant has that same thing going on. And I think that is very, 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 very powerful. Because, like, I mean, even looking at something like Teapot, one of the things which I find the limits about Teapot, to be honest, is the fact that the debutants are just kind of nothing burger. You know, like, the Teapot debutants are nothing burgers, right? Like, there's, like, two that are vaguely interesting, and the rest barely even spoke, and when they speak, they are just generic. There's nothing going on with them. Which is mildly like frustrating, you know, because it feels like it almost feels like the you know the Teapot debutantes, like 90% of them were not gonna debut, which fair enough, but like you can tell because they're nothing, right? There was not a case scenario where they were ready to possibly debut because like nothing was going on. Anyways, Clock gets baited by keeping hearing the word Wheel, and people thought Wheel was back. Clock got actually excited about this. Clock kind of likes Wheel. There's definitely, you know, like common algebra and inequalities for somebody like Clock. In that scenario, right? Kind of like how, you know, somebody like 4 who mildly, you know, bully a character still eventually feels bad about them not being there, right? Clock does that same scenario for Wheel, right? Where like they kind of bully them, quote unquote, but like for them it's fun, right? So they miss them when they eventually leave, and now that of course we know that they didn't cause it, that also causes of course the general interest to run around. Eventually, epic battle between Inky and Words with Friends alongside the other fella. Polka Dot proceeds to open up a portal to adventure on. We check out and we find even more channels, which we I don't know. We find channel 04 again, but other channels I don't think we've specifically got a lot of knowledge of. But eventually they managed to pop back in onto channel 57, and they end up being, I believe, safe alongside, I think, yeah, alongside TA30, and then we get to see what's in the present, which is nothing. Nothing is in the present. Clock is laughing at this because they just got trollololed by freaking the sun. And yeah, who's getting eliminated? I mean, is it Refill Station? Is it? I have to say it is. I have to say it is. I'm distraught right now. I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of distraught by having to say it, but I think Refill Station is gonna go again. Is this time? I think it's time, bro. So that's sad. Then we end up having the credits, of course. By the way, don't think I didn't notice. There's a link down there. There's a link down there, and I mean, that's definitely a YouTube link, right? HTTPS www.youtube.com/watch?v equals 11 word string. That's absolute 11 letter string. That's absolutely a YouTube link. Now, I'm gonna tell you, I'm not doing this. I quickly did put it into a decipher just to see. I couldn't find an immediate decipher because like it doesn't really make sense. Because like, for example, I don't really know what the decryption method is here, because like it's not just like a cipher where you switch the letters, because like if you was, then like YouTube, right, like both the Y in YouTube and the YouTube and the U they're both represented as J, right? And then or then like the more obvious example, www.youtube.com PQW. Those are different symbols, right? Like it should theoretically be the same symbol 3 times, no? So that means that the encryption method is different, and I don't know what it is, right? And I don't got time to figure it out. But I noticed that it's there, you know, and hopefully, you know, I guess it won't impact it too bad. We've got the TV there. There's a little song, right? To the end of it. And clock, I think, proceeds to appear at the very last moment. All right, episode 8 is entitled "It Always Flies." Okay, so I have watched episode 8 of It's Time for the... Now, very important to note that I actually have to give here, alright? It's that it has been a while since the last section. I think it's been like 5 days since the day which I watched episode 1 through 7, because I've had to do some other things and I have been busy. This is what I mean when I say that there's not a lot of catches, right? But I do tend to inform that it's been like nearly a full week since I did that 1 to 7 watch. And that is important because, in a way, directly what you remember, especially for a show like this, is relatively important when heading into like the future, right? Because how memory kind of works, right, is that as things go further into memory, as it's been more time, right, it replaces detail with feeling, right? Like you won't understand the detail, but it'll be more important how you felt about it, right? Now for this, it should be fine. I remember what happened in ITFT, right? It's been a week, my memory's not that short, but it's always something that I like to point out in situations where it's been like a couple of months since I watched the last episode, right? And things, it means that like I don't have as concrete of an understanding, right, of various things here in those type of shows. But either way, ITFT 8. Now, was it a good idea for me to stop watching ITFT, or was it a great idea? Because this episode is the full-on switcheroo plot, right? Like, whereas the last episodes, they were kind of trying to give you some plot ideas, right? but it was still very much so competition, right? It was doing competition. We were doing challenges, we were doing things, right? As the main focal point, and then it was kind of just beginning and end where some of the shenanigans were happening, right? All of that's happening, but this is the first episode where the plot takes over the show in a way, right? Whereas the plot was kind of sandwiching the show, this is the first episode where the plot infiltrates the show floors, right? Which is interesting, and I also just don't. Okay, look, all right. Remember, I said at the beginning of the video that people were calling it the most confusing object show of all time. I'm not gonna try to get defeated by it. All right, I'm gonna try to understand what's going on. All right, so here's the casual perspective of what happened. So we began at channel 429. This is the whatever channel for the flashing lights warning. But I would like to point out that is Jasonville TV, which I thought that we had mentioned being channel 57, right? I thought Jasonville TV and its logo was channel 57 because we saw it as like the bumper of the weather channel, right? So it being channel 29 is something that I didn't quite clock as being alright. So that's something that's kind of going on. As these numbers are relatively consistent, I find that one to be relatively interesting. Then we proceed to be at 634, by the way. 634. A very distinct time, and a time that officially does incorrectly state one of my previous statements, which I remember making, which was one of the things that I was finding really interesting about how kind of like the switching channels is directly on top of the hour, right? So you can see what's going on at exactly that minute in each video, right? But it turns out, no, that's actually not how that works. We are not seeing a live channel switcher. The channel switch is just for plot. The times themselves change. Whereas, for example, on 8TV, this is the feed from 6:34 p.m. and it doesn't actually have anything to do with the fact that this is the 8 o'clock episode. Personally, I mean, like, I understand that it probably makes more sense time-wise. I do think it'd be cooler if we got like kind of a live update on top of the hour at each channel. All right, so like it could make interesting things. It's kind of like how in the previous episodes, right, you saw in a way the program, like the music program, for example, progressing, right, as it was kind of finishing itself off, right, and like I thought that was cool, but it's not doing that, which I think is unfortunate. I think it if I was writing it, I should, but I'm not writing it, and that's for the best of the universe. We have a fella that's about to play baseball. It's not the greatest holding baseball bat animation, gotta admit. But we proceed to move over with a siren warning from 8TV News, because apparently there has been a meteorological agency from the state that there is a rare thunderstorm that's arriving for the entire Jasonville metro area and also every surrounding county. So, alright, so that's a little bit of an issue. And then we switch to channel 62. Now, channel 62, I don't know what's going on with channel 62. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, the thing about channel 62, right, is that it's the same channel where every feed of the clock fella, which again I'm pretty sure is called Lucas. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's Lucas. Is there? So that's all going on. But then like the feed from that guy's house have all been on channel 62, right? And pretty much any other relevant feed that we've seen has been channel 62. Same thing with like the fade out and everything, which is like kind of confusing because like what's going on with channel 62? Is channel 62 just real life? Like, what is channel 62? You know? Like, is channel 62 just you? Like, how does that work? You know, like, I'm getting confused. And it's because, like, I was almost thinking that, no, I don't know. I really don't know how channel 62 works. It doesn't make sense as a channel, right? It doesn't have any, like, television going on in it, which is kind of the part that I'm a little bit confused here about channel 62, but I guess we're gonna need to discover. We switch then to 727, where on channel 08 you can, I guess, see the thunderstorm possibly arriving, and then on channel 24, where a game show is currently occurring, we're doing a generic briefcase game, deal or no deal, whatever it's called, and we end up having the lights go out, and then the clock appears, and everybody is screaming and running outwards as they seem to possibly be a beam of light seems to be getting shot, because apparently there is time is bad or something. I think. Okay, so that's okay. So time. All right. So what's happening here? So well, let's just ignore that for a second, because we gotta get to it, because I think there's more relevant details later. So clock reappears, throws the gift away because they don't need that, and then TI-30 is, of course, glitched out. Everybody dips off over to the other side of the Earth, and then we're about to do the elimination. So as we're about to do the elimination, Refill Station proceeds to come back, and we then end up having a pretty epic glitch away, where the 4 eliminated contestants end up coming back. Yes, they pop out of it for some reason, and they end up getting paused for a second, but anyway, we end up having the comments. Yay! So we end up having some comments. No way gets hit by a baseball. Cool. The sun. We end up having the refill station little quote, and then we end up saying, and then we end up having Tao. This person said you were mean this time. That's not even true. That comment does not say that. If there's many things that comment is saying. Actually, no. There's one thing that comment is saying, and it's not you were mean. It's just I want Tao out, right? Did we not? Did we really? Dude, I'm like, how does that, like, you couldn't find the comment saying Tile was mean? Is there no comment on ITFT 7 saying that Tile was mean so that you can make the gag that you pre-wrote work? Really? Huh. Okay, I see. So then you need to use a vaguely correlated comment of just somebody wanting somebody eliminated. I don't know about this one, Chief. I don't know if I'm too convinced, but I mean, it does make a funny gag, to be fair. What did I do gag? 28,000 votes. I don't even, this numbers, it's just exponentially increasing. It's fair enough to it. Tao is safe, then we proceed to have a no way be safe, and then the sun is safe. Refill station has been eliminated because, yeah, I mean, yeah, no shit. Refill station has been like freaking baited into just like not being a thing for like multiple episodes now, right? Like Refill Station is the most tactical elimination that has ever been written into a thing ever, right? It was like if Refill Station had survived, that would have been legendary, because like it really is Refill Station against the world here, but unfortunately the world has won, just like hella won. Yeah, I will be talking about this episode for way longer, because like there's things that are happening here, so you're gonna give me a minute. I will probably double up on the length of the episode here. Then apparently we see apparently it wasn't a good time when the fellows were trying to get back. This might be a mini-sode that they're referencing. I'm not really sure, because we get to see quick glimpses of it. I'm not sure how canon the mini-sodes are, so I'm just gonna not ignore it. Anyways, then the thunderstorm arrives, presumably, or at least a storm arrives here at the area. The sun is weakened by it, yeah, we proceed to have some fellas do it, and then TI-80 just decides, yo, clock guy, you should go in the sun, and then proceeds to punch them, because apparently the way that robots work is every time that they're mildly damaged, they proceed to start fucking beating up everybody around them. I don't know why, dude. It's like TI-30. Like, I'm sorry, there's gotta be just a degree where they break, right? Like, there's constant rain falling on. Like, there's a point where it'll just stop working. You know? Like, I get that glitching is interesting, you can make it be evil, but at a certain point, it'll just stop working, dude. Keep doing this. But either way, then they're glitching in. The time is like passing very fast as the clock is in the sun, right? Something's happening there. Then we switch back to channel 57 at a different time. I don't know what's actually going on here at all. But apparently the clock tower seems to be visible in the distance, as no way manages to see it. And then we end up going over to the Starfella. The Starfella that happens to know the future, but doesn't say it because character. We proceed to apparently have to put an end to this, because again, if you I don't like, hold on, we gotta talk about this for a second. Like, am I like dumb, or is it really weird to have Star Jar be the character that knows the fate, that knows what's gonna happen, right? But then it's like, you're still doing a plan. Like, you see what I mean? Like, it's just, I'm always caught by the dilemma of, like, again, if you know everything that's gonna happen, why are you, like, why would you ever do anything? I don't know, whatever. But either way, we proceed to have the plans come in. And, like, okay, so this is, I don't even know when this is. Because, like, things are, like, different here. You know? Like, the situation is different at this hour. The No-Way sign, you can tell that the No-Way sign is massively rusty, or at least massively damaged, right? You can see that the tile is just freaking levitating. I don't even know. You've just become a ghost. The words your friends tell. I don't know why, but it's there, right? And then we end up being in great danger. Polka Dot proceeds to get here. The Polka Dot asset is, I think, I think there's a mild swap of how the Polka Dot works. It's like mildly more, there's a bit more static, I think, placed on the balls themselves than there was last time we saw Polka Dot. And there's also like a mainframe body, which I don't think was ever there, right? Like that's a spinning square. Maybe I'm misremembering, but I think it's a little bit different. In terms of the voices, I think they're also like VA'd mildly differently, but overall it's there. It's kind of the remembering of it. But yeah, there's this clock tower. It's there. It's apparently is evil for some reason. And Starjar continues to obviously just, stop time. Starjar continues to be character that knows everything, but for reasons needs to say only 3 words that we'll never understand because we don't get to know. A type character. So they proceed to be like, alright, then go stop time. And they proceed to try to stop time, I guess. We don't really know. They end up trying to launch up, and we do successfully launch No Way up along with Polka Dot, which of course just flies there. A couple of cool little gags happen. Wheel, in the meantime, I think tries to crash into the glass. Turns out the Big Ben has pretty tough glass, so it doesn't actually manage to do that. But, he proceeds to glitch in. The tile can, by the way, I guess, just go through the wall, so they're also here. And they proceed to get to the top. Now, apparently, as we get to the top, we end up having that this is not clock, apparently. The clock tower is not from clock, but we get to see Polka Dot, like, cover up, like, I guess, the clean off dust. We see a symbol, for sure. It looks like a gigantic ball in, like, it's like a skateboarding ball, but apparently this is not good according to Polka Dot. We have to go. The clock tower tolls. It starts spinning the gears, and as the gears start spinning, we end up transitioning over to clock, which is here on the grass. Away, I guess they did survive. They made it out. They fixed refill station for some reason, which is just kind of there. And then the sun proceeds to start rising for some reason. Not with a face. I'm not sure if they're still alive. I'm not sure what's going on in any of that. But, yeah. What does any of that mean? Now that's the question of the day. I don't know. I just told you the events of the episode. Now, what does that mean? I don't know. You get to vote to win a prize. Oh, yeah, and there's also the post-credit scene back at Channel 62, where our fella has left the house, as they did in the last episode, and they proceed to go to the bus stop. Wow, so good. What is bro doing? And then it's time for the... So... What? What was that? I'm not even confused. I just don't think there's anything to know. Like, I'm gonna be omega honest. Like maybe I'm hella wrong, right? Maybe I'm hella wrong, and it's telling me, and it's actually told me all of the details that I'm supposed to know, right? But like, I don't think it did, right? Like, because I'm looking at a lot of this stuff, and it's like, no, he just didn't tell me that was a thing, right? Because like, the Weather Channel bugged out and said that on Wednesday something's happening, right? Okay, sure. Like, on Wednesday it was bugging out. Sure, but that's not even... It's not 12 o'clock yet. The weather's wrong. It's too early. It's like 4 hours early. Even more than 4. 6 hours early. So I don't even think that matters. Right? So then it's just a lot of things and details that are getting told to us for the first time. Right? Like, again, what is going on? Like, what is going on with the tile? Like, I'm trying to think... Why are you a ghost? How much time has passed, bro? It can't have been that long. I mean, by the accordance of how time in this show works, it should not have been that long. Which, by the way, I don't know, this show kind of uses time in a couple of weird ways. Like, for the gag earlier in this episode. That's like the gag that, oh wow, time really does change things. It'd be like, it's been a couple hours. Yes, but did you forget you're on the other side of the world than when 57 ball was last here? Yes, it does look different because you're on the other side of the fucking planet. What do we do? But like, whatever, bro. Yeah, because like, there's a lot. No, I think no. I really do think that there are just details here that I wouldn't know personally, right? Like, I'm sure if has somebody made like an ITFT explain, right? Like, has somebody made like a video that explained like when these details are first mentioned? Because like, there's a lot of things that, like, it doesn't like. It didn't work like this. At least we didn't know it worked like this. So, by the way, why is one of the portals just a phone? Why is one of Polkadot's portals just a fucking phone? Like, since when was that a thing? What? I thought they were portals. Like, was that not what it was? Now one of them's a cellular mobile device that happens to have an epic call right to wheel. Like, how does, like, what? I mean, okay. And then the wheel doesn't have a phone. So how's the wheel even responding? How does any of that function? I don't know. And then, of course, the whole thing with time. Right, like, why is there a gigantic clock tower that's just running towards us? That's just running towards these people specifically and started to beat them up. Is there just one clock tower, or are there multiple? Is it a clock tower invasion? Like, what is happening? Is there are the clock towers coming in and trying to beat out the world? Is that the thing? Does that have to do with the storm warning? Does the storm warning that happened at the beginning of the does that have anything to do with the clock towers, or is there just a storm and then the clock time people are also taking advantage to try to take over the universe? Is that what's going on? Because I don't really know. And then what the clock had to do with any of it? Because he's kind of the color. Right, he's the color, but at the same time, he doesn't have anything to do with it because Polkadot said it doesn't. So the clock tower people are not necessarily interfering with clock. And you gotta remember that clock isn't actually the person that was running it. Because remember, in the show, the eliminations is not clock that's actually doing the eliminations. Right, somebody else is doing the eliminations. So maybe it could be the clock tower people that are doing it. And then there's this old random ass guy that's just been chilling there, grabbing popcorn, eating popcorn, fucking going outside, going to the bus station, right where there's a gigantic fucking storm happening. Where I warned the entire thing. I thought you were watching the television, but then you're off. You can go. You need to get the bus to go to work at 8 o'clock. I don't even know what you're doing. Like, what is happening? I don't know, and I don't think I'm supposed to. I just don't think it's told me. Right? I don't know. Maybe it did. But I genuinely think half of these details have just been thrown in. Like, not necessarily thrown. Well, I'm not saying thrown in as in they didn't exist before, but they've been thrown in as in they weren't shown before, right? Like, I'm not saying that the writing is shoddy. I'm saying that the writing is just it didn't give hints. I don't think there's been any hints to like half of this stuff. Maybe I'm hella wrong, but I don't know. And the only way to know is to watch ITFT 9, which is entitled Dodge Tire. Go. Alright, that is episode 9 of ITFT, and do I know what is happening? No, not at all, not even a little bit. Okay, so, like, this is like, so, is this the most confusing option? Maybe. I don't think I would want to give it that title. Because, like, what it is like, I don't think this is confusing in the way that you generally think of confusing, right? This isn't confusing by an overrun of logic, right? There's not, like, so much logic that you need to wrap your head around it to understand it, right? It's, at this current moment, right? As of this episode 9 I've just watched, and I've said in an episode as well, I really, really, really do think that, like, while there are lines that connect to other lines, right? There are dots to connect. They form separate, they don't form a full picture, right? Which means that I think this is currently confusing by the realm that it is unexplainable, Right there, see, as of right now, I think this is unexplainable. I could not see it. I really want to see what like the common consensus on any of this is right now, because what is it? It's the thing. Like I don't. He's but like all right. I mean, we'll need to see it. So yet again, let's comment on the episode as we run through it, just to kind of see if there's what we can pick up from it. All right. So we start at the beginning with the flashing lights warning. Now I don't. Look, these flashing lights warnings are in universe. I don't think they actually matter that much, but they are helping ourselves out here actually, because we do get to see that there is the logo. Yes, the logo, the ball in the ball in the freaking skateboard ball is in fact Channel 57's logo. So I was just wrong. I thought it was Jasonville. I thought Channel 57 was Jasonville TV from. I don't even know from what. It was like, I swear it was like one of the initial, it was a bumper in one of them. It was a bumper in one of them. It was like the first bumper in one of them, right? Like Jasonville TV presents ITFT or something, right? So I thought that was Channel 57. I guess not. I don't know if that's been retconned or if that's just, or if that was wrong information. But like, yeah. So that is the channel that apparently seems to be taken in Channel 57. And especially if you consider that we are on Channel 57, that means that this is the introduction to It's Time for The, right? Which means that it's like directly booting up towards the actual episode itself, right? Because as usual, because in the past, right, we've always sort of tuned in to Channel 57 post start, right? Which means that we've never seen the warning as of ITFT, which means that this is the ITFT, and by the logo being down there, this is either the TV station or the production house, right? Which kind of makes it an interesting thing, right? Because like if it's the production house, that is directly, so that's like who's producing It's Time for This. So is that's the company that is dealing with ITFT as far as I'm aware. So maybe from there, yeah, there's something to do, because that was the same logo that was dealing with the clock tower that was doing the murders in the last episode, right? And that was apparently the one that we couldn't deal with. That polka dot did apparently know something about, right? So that's kind of, so things that happen in that case, you can, and then the clocks. Okay, so yeah, there is a date on it, I believe MMXXV, which I believe stands for 2025, which is interesting. Is that the name of the channel? That'd be kind of a weird name, but I don't know. Things are definitely happening here. And I mean, of course, the main thing that definitely stands out when in this scenario, like about this episode in generally, as it immediately begins with TI 30, is that, well, like, and Wheel especially, is that what the hell was last episode? Right, like what was going on there, right? Like what timeline, like what, like, huh? Because we're in like a very weird, like half and half situation where like that didn't happen, but at the same time, it did. You know, like there's a lot of like certain events from that episode are carried over, but not all of them, and a lot of them are just entirely non-relevant here, right? In the form, like for example, I don't know, Tao is not Spectra anymore. Now, by the way, why is Tao Spectra? I don't know. It could be, by the way, like just so I can say, it could be like just a detail with the character, maybe. Right, like there's kind of a thing going on. Because I don't actually play Words with Friends, but if they have a night mode and that makes the tiles kind of transparent, that would make sense. then that's kind of like a detail about the character. Maybe that's something that could like explain the spectralness or random ghostness. But at the same time, it has been nighttime before, right? Like when the sun dipped off, and Words and the tile never turned into that. So, like, I don't think it aligns. I don't think it's making sense. I don't know. Like, these loose threads, I'm like kind of connecting them, but they're like mildly off key. Like there's something's happening. I don't know. But either way, and Clock is back. All right, and we proceed to review the prize results as TI 30 continues to do murders because they've been glitched out. They continue to be glitched out. They're hella glitched out. Whether it's the rain or the non-rain or anything else. Yeah. Either way, No Way proceeds to continue to get like popping out of random portals. I don't even I don't know how that's happening, but the TI-30 just continues to do murders because again, if a robot is badly damaged, they do murders. And then we proceed to fetch a polka dot. So this is of course one of the interesting things. As polka dot doesn't win the prize, we proceed to go over to the sky where there's the gigantic polka dot portal, and we fetch a polka dot for sure. We fetched one of the polka dots. I was just sitting there, and they don't really know what's going on, but they're just there, right? And this is a entirely distinct polka dot. Well, they're not distinct that much in terms of personality, but with this very factory settings polka dot, right? To whatever's going on with the other polka dot. So there's a permanent glitch there in a way where whatever polka dot was polka dotting, it's not that one, right? So, okay, but like, even then, one of the initial lines that I'm actually mentioning as No Way proceeds to pop out of the portal is that, like, No Way proceeds to say, maybe Green was right, you would have wanted to leave as well. What does what does that sentence even mean? What are they talking about? Green, like, even if No Way was on about the last episode, right? Even if No Way was on about the last episode, Green wasn't in it. Like, Green wasn't a component of the Surge Pact. Like, that doesn't actually have anything to do with it, you know? So that's just a different sentence. So, like, I don't know what's actually, so, like, it's not a No Way, so No Way, like, that's kind of my question that I was trying to find out, and I couldn't quite get the answer to, right? It's like, okay, it's very obvious that Polka Dot has been reset in some capacity, right? But, like, has No Way been reset in some capacity, because No Way isn't also No Way is also fixed in the terms of actual, like, time, of their physical state, right? They're not scratched up anymore. They're fixed up in that aspect, but they seemed to be correctly calculating Polka Dot as different than what they remember. So that means that they remember something. So what's going on with that whole thing? Now, again, we did get the discovery, as the weather reports go, that not everything is necessarily time-oriented, right? So not everything that happens in the 8 p.m., in the 8 o'clock episode is happening at 8 o'clock, right? Like, that's not necessarily true. So like, my current leading theory just has to be that wasn't at 8 o'clock and that was at a different time. That's like a flashback, because that's the only thing I could possibly imagine, because things change too fast, right? But, like, at the same time, maybe not. I don't know. Like, maybe they did a memory wipe. Like, anything could have possibly happened. But, like, I don't know. It's not explainable. It's not explainable. But either way, Wheel proceeds to win a prize because people like Wheel. It's a very interesting kind of mean character, but in this kind of competition, non-competition, as they're kind of fueling into the gag, right? And especially with their correlation to the host and stuff, and it's making a very likable character despite them being the theoretically mean one, which is very kind of. It's a very interesting thing. There's a lot that you could say about Wheel, by the way. I'm not gonna have time to say much about Wheel here, but Wheel is one of the it's a very good character. Wheel is actually a very, very good character. I don't have the time here to really delve into it, right? Because I'm too busy being confused by the show. But, like, things are happening. But, like, with Wheel, right, where, like, you can really see how, like, there is the possibility of making a more arrogant or direct or mean character and still have it be enjoyed by an audience, right? It's interesting to see Wheel as, like, a super modern depiction of, like, can a meaner character be a fan favorite, right? Because we have seen the meaner characters start to survive, right? But, like, we don't really see meaner characters become a fan favorite, right? And this is interesting because we're seeing, in a way, like, that happened directly with Wheel, which I think is one of the most interesting things about it. So, that's interesting. TI-30 proceeds to get turned into a cowboy for some reason, and we end up having Wheel rejoin the game, so good job, but that was the prize, I guess. And then Dodge Tire. So a gigantic tire proceeds to pop out from the sky. Now, this, yet again, it seems like something's going on in a television sense. I don't really know, because, like, we now know what's happening with the sky, right? Like, the sky, like, things that pop out of the sky are, I'm presuming, production oriented, because it just kind of makes sense, right? Especially with now that we know that the very very ceiling is almost like the channel screen in a way, right? It seems like that stuff seems to be oriented, especially a clock receives a gift from the sky, and proceeds to think about it that it might be from television. I don't know, it might be from the production, and maybe that's why they were really into that. Into that gift when we did it. Like, see, like again, there's details. You see what I mean? There's like details that almost connected, and it kind of does that make sense? Does it? I don't know, but like it's half making sense. It's 50% of the way to making hella sense. I don't know, man. But anyway, this tire is just going to roll over and try to murder everybody. All right, and then they do that. They kind of do that. I'm not going to talk too much about the challenge, but yeah, they just kind of do that. The characters continue to kind of just exist in the sense of like not to really like well, look. Again, I'm going to stop suggesting them to just move to the left, because apparently that's a banned tactic. But, like, they do a lot of running away and trying to do it, and some die and some don't, right? And they do that. Polka Dot, in the meantime, finds a new fella that they called Ian. They're apparently a blob boy from a platinum planet that's, like, way off in the distance of channels. And in the meantime, Clock proceeds to get scanned while they're running in the Dodge Tower like a freaking hamster. In the meantime, Tao ends up being hella friends with the cowboy fella, who ends up being pretty cool, apparently. So that's what's happening. We end up doing a lot of gags with Wheel, because Wheel is just an easy character to do. It's a very easy character to do gags with. They deflate the tire, then proceed to get rid of the tire, then throws the tire, then Noe dies, and then like GG, and then the tire proceeds to continue running away, and then they're battling everything else, and like all that stuff's happening, right? But yeah, like it's another one of those reasons why Wheel is a good character. You can do so many guys with Wheel because it complements the show. Like, it's both a character that complements the show, but it's also an interesting example of meaner character, right? Like, it's like you can make meaner characters complement a show, and it works. Like, it's very interesting. But wait, in the meantime, the eliminated characters are off in a different section, and as they're in a different section, for some reason, Refill says she's just talking about ants. That might be something. I don't know. Like, that's kind of weird. Is that a personality swap as well? Like, what's going on here? Like, I don't know what's relevant and what isn't. Then recommended characters. Forgot those are a thing. Forky proceeds to die because the fella proceeds to run enough to where the world proceeds to get spinned itself back to normal, because remember, the whole thing the clock was doing was that they managed to run so much that they spun the world so that it could be crossed in 20 minutes. Apparently, Wheel can also run that fast so that it gets crossed in 20 minutes. Does that make sense? No, let's pretend it does. We continue to move over, and as we move over, we proceed to free up the freaking fuel fella, the fuel pump, and then as the fuel pump proceeds to get fully unfrozen, they proceed to start rapping. Song time! Hell yeah! Music! Why? Yeah, why not? I mean, look, I will never, alright, look, how about this? We need an agreement with every show, okay? On average, I would like your show to make sense, right? But like, if you're putting a random musical number in, that will get a global pass. Okay, music is cool. Okay, if it makes sense as well, that's cool. But if it's just a song, that's fine. If you make a song and you just forced it in by doing random bullshit, sure, go right ahead. You have a turn of the second go ahead. If you're making a song and you're just putting it in, you have my go ahead. You can do that, okay? Because yes, this is extremely random, but like, why the fuck not, right? Why not? Like, you gotta kind of remember that this is the show that just does things, right? Like, that's the debate. Like, in a way, like that. By the way, that is an interesting point to actually make, the one I've just made. This is the show that does things, right? Like, this, in a way, this, like, the first 2 episodes, right, they were very much so timing-based gags, which, by the way, have they been reduced? I haven't actually thought about that in a while. I think they really have. I'm not gonna lie, the timing-based gags, they really have. The timing-based writing style, like, the initial gimmick, I feel that's really changed. Right, like, there's still some of it, but like, on average, it's really changed from the initial batch. I do gotta be honest. It's really changed. Not necessarily in a bad way, it's just changed, right? But like, it was those timing based gags, right? And it was kind of show that, but it used those to just kind of do things, right? Like, things that happened were kind of random, they were kind of fun, but like, it was working, right? And you just zone in, you kind of zone out a little bit, you watch the show, right? But like, then what's happening is that the show's asking you to zone back in. Right, like like if you zoned out in those first batch of episodes, you entered the flow state. Right, the things were happening. It was fun. It was entertaining, but like there wasn't too much riding on it. Right, but like the show in the last few episodes asked you to zone back in. It asked you like, "Oh, hello, we have story. Would you like to see story?" Right, and like as it's doing that, you gotta zone back in. But then it starts to become at odds with itself, because that initial philosophy doesn't apply to ARG, right? Because like these things are at odds with each other. The philosophy doesn't apply to ARG because an ARG is about minute detail, right? ARG is about like ARG discovery is about minute details that are all correct, that they're all lining into into the other. Right, like all of that's happening, right? But like then that ends up at odds with the writing style of the general things. So like random things happen, but now anything that happens is suddenly relevant, right? That suddenly technically matters, right? Because like who knows what's relevant and what isn't, right? Because it's ARG. Right, if it's ARG or analog, again, I'm saying ARG. It's analog. No. You know, it's ARG. There was a fucking YouTube video the other time that I didn't get to open because it was encrypted 3-way. No, it's ARG. Shut up. ARG, analog, whatever, right? So like it does that, but like but yeah, it maybe doesn't. So that's why I'm judging it more. In the first batch of episodes, I didn't judge what happened, but now I'm judging it more because because the show's directly asked me to pay more attention, right? But like by doing these details and stuff, but like by asking me to pay more attention, I'm now paying more attention to the main philosophy as if it weren't the philosophy, right? Which is kind of the interesting thing, right? Like I'm judging the show by itself. It's something that has been doing fine for ages, but now that it's doing fine, but it has a story to uphold, it's weird. Right, that's kind of interesting. Like I don't mind, but it's a weird situation that it's put itself in. It really is. It's a very precarious spot because then you end up having the thing where it just feels really confusing, right? Because so much about the way that ITFT works is in the kind of random things. But if ITFT is working this much in the kind of random things, right? It blends in too much with the things that aren't supposed to be random within it, right? And then that makes it feel really confusing. That's my assessment. Yep, there we go. Got it. All right, I've figured it out. That's why. That's what it is. That's what it is. It's not necessarily confusing due to a lack of detail. It's confusing because because the philosophy of it blends in, has such a randomness to where you don't actually notice any of the details. So there's too many details going on, of which 90% are just the show's writing to like just writing philosophy and don't matter. So the 10% that do matter is like blended in too much that you don't know what details, like you barely know what details are relevant, and like even within those they're kind of confusing. So like that's what it is. Anyways, we need to get the wheel going. The wheel successfully scans clock. It makes clock the robot 9:35 apparently by this moment. And they do try to murder everybody. So they proceed to try to murder everybody. And how do they even do this? I don't even know how to do this. TI-30 cowboy dies. We proceed to have the freaking. We throw tile into the fire chamber. We proceed to shoot it out, but then that ends up kind of glitching them out, right? And then we end up and then the Ian fella ends up getting a big slam on the clock robots, on the metal clock, and then they proceed to eventually drop down. Then afterwards, Polka Dot manages to figure out where they're supposed to go, which is the Platinum Plateau, which is channel 71,742,103. Polka dot. How many channels? I gotta buy that TV package. That's a lot of channel. What is what? Give me the number. Let me sign up. Let me sign up. Let's go. I'm going to Jasonville for the television. What is 71 million channel? It's like, what the hell? It's like the video games. You know the fake consoles that have like 999 games, like have 9 billion games in one, and it's like $3. It's like, holy shit, let's go. Like, what is going on? Fair enough. Polka dot proceeds to walk away, and then they immediately get run over, apparently, by the wheel. And then I think everybody is up for it. Who's safe? Was anybody safe? Was anybody safe at all? I think everybody died, right? Because everybody technically lost the Dodge tire. Yeah. So everybody's up for elimination, including Clock. Including Clock, who's also up for elimination here. And overall, I mean, yeah, they seem very distraught by this. We proceed to see some other channels. So first of all, we go back to a couple episodes ago when the hourglass fell off of the polka dot landscape, which is apparently its own channel, by the way. And as they drop off, they apparently land maybe in a port, I think, at channel 32, in a crash state, and then they proceed to walk away from that moment, which is very interesting, because what the hell is that? Right? Like, I thought that was, you see what I mean, dude. You see what I mean? This is relevant now. Like, this is relevant now because it's pointed at again. But otherwise it isn't. Otherwise it's just the show doing a writing gag. Because in that episode it gets brushed off as a gag. They fall off. Then we get to see them being whole reality show interview thing in the thing. That's all my proud moment. And then the back. Right? Like, that's kind of what happens. Right, like, in that moment, it's a writing gag and not a relevant part of the show. But now it's mentioned it again, so suddenly, this thing that I thought was just the show doing a gag because it wants to do a gag is now back to being a possibly integral detail on the lore element of the show. You see, it's a blender. Because of how it clashes, it makes a fucking smoothie of information. And I don't know what information is supposed to be following. It's very interesting. What is happening? This is mad. The situation that they show us, but it's is actually crazy. It's just really interesting. I just find it cool. I just find it kind of cool. Like, I don't know what to. This is a weird piece of information. Anyways, in credits, then we end up going back to channel 62, also known as the fucking stalking, the paparazzi, the paparazzi channel, the paparazzi channel on this one guy, the channel that just goes like, all right, guys, so today we're gonna be stalking this clock. I don't know what we're doing in this channel, but either way, they proceed to get to the bus ticket. I mean, as they get to the bus ticket, they're apparently leaving Jasonville. They proceed to get onto this bus that has this one driver, quote unquote, and this driver isn't exactly a super convincing driver. And they apparently managed to get the bus to fly, and the bus proceeds to fly. And as it's flying, the claw fella's trying to get them. It's an incoming car, and they're super worried, and they're apparently flying right into the storm, or right into the light. Now, what is going on there? My initial theory, if you want to know what it might be, I don't think it makes sense, right? But like, my initial thought was, okay, is that rift in the sky just simply and plainly just polka dot? Like, is that just what that is? Like, if we're flying in there, are we entering the polka dot landscape? What is that? Right, like, because in the last episode I got showed off, I thought it was clouds, right? I thought it was like, okay, the storm's arriving, right? And it's the footage of the storm arriving, but like, it's very bright. It's very, very bright. But then I'm like, okay, this is the polka dot landscape. What is it? Is that what it is, right? Because in the same way that we see it, the polka dot landscape just kind of levitating in the sky in where the contestants are. Is it levitating in the sky here as well? Like, that was going on. But then, why wouldn't there just be balls? Right? Like, why is it just plain white? Like, maybe the camera quality is not good, but why would it be plain white? Like, surely that's a piece of information you can give. Right? Like, it's kind of like, what? Like, because it's difficult, because, like, it's trying to logic this show, but this show doesn't give you a lot of logic with. This show just kind of gives you nothing. Like it just does a thing. Like until like freedom, like because it really doesn't. You cannot realistically presume anything. Like at any moment, right? You could absolutely not have predicted what the hell this clock fella that we've just been watching, right? Ever since like episode 3, what it's been doing, because they've been chilling there. They've gone over to make a popcorn. They got the popcorn. The TV's broken. Then they decide, okay, all right, time to go. Then they leave the house. Then they are at a bus stop, and now they're apparently leaving Jasonville. Okay, but like zero of the previous section tells you what's gonna happen in the current section, right? It doesn't make any sense. Like, not necessarily that it doesn't make any sense. There just isn't anything to make sense of, right? Like that's kind of the thing. So I don't know. We'll need to see. It's one more episode. The newest one premiered in the theaters. Good job, ITFT, on getting it to the theaters. You did very good on getting it there. But it's now time to watch it. It's time for the 10 never end. Go. Okay, so I have watched episode 10 of It's Time for the ITFT 10, and I've just kind of like sat here for a little bit, and I've just kind of let the gears, right? I've kind of let there's a lot here, right? I've kind of let the gears do what the gears are doing, right? And try to see if I could process kind of the general gist of what's going on, right? Because this is what was the kind of becoming needed, like pretty desperately, right? It was like, okay, we need something to happen. Like, we need some type of explanatory episode, right? Some episode that explains what's happening. Because the last 3 episodes I've shown details, right? But it's felt really confusing because well, a lot has been going on. Nothing's actually been contextualized, which means that, what? Right, so let's try to go here section by section, I guess. We begin here with Chase Films, but no, what is that? Chasey Films, which is, I guess, interesting. I don't know if that's relevant. Again, everything and nothing is relevant at the same time, but I'm going to choose to believe it's not relevant. But it could be, I don't know. No Way says Chase instead of Vase one time, so that might be something, but I don't think so because this is Chasey. Anyway, and having the association with something. But yeah, the weather forecast says to not try to leave the storm. It's bad. All right, fair enough. The disclaimer declares that the film, the flashing lights warning trying to be placed in universe. We end up having the logo here of the location. I have no idea if that is an updated one for the year. Actually, it's way too low poly to actually be able to understand it because it has been VHS, which, by the way, now that I've heard about it, apparently it's been VHS, like, actually. I think there's a credit for like VHS compression or something. Like is this actually on a VHS? Does somebody actually put this on a VHS and then record that or something? That'll be kind of sick, no? How to get the VHS effect? Just put it on a VHS, bruh. Just put it on a VHS, bruh. That's all Tal would say. As we begin, we end up having a crazy, escape out from the void, which I believe is where we have been saying. And anyways, yesterday, August 13th, by the way, we end up forming, seemingly the logo of the fella of the company, right, in some capacity, at the Zoom out. Anyways, yesterday at 9 p.m., what happened? So, as we are there, we proceed to be traveling on here, and our fella, Lucas, is not getting any responses from the phone, which it wants to do maintenance on channel 57 because it's 10 o'clock. Then they just dip away, and then our little fella proceeds to step out of the thing. Why? Okay, all right. No. That decision I'm not too convinced necessarily by this decision, because it's like, okay, look, you are in a levitating bus that has just entered a mysterious void landscape with a driver that just randomly disappeared, right? And your first thought is to step out into the void machine, into the void where there's no ground, there's no nothing, and you're just gonna yeet yourself out there and pray. Is that a good strategy? I don't know. Like, you can say, surely you try to drive the vehicle. That's like the obvious thing to do, right? Right, like if the driver dips off, surely you go try to drive the vehicle, right? I don't. That's absurd that he doesn't try to. That's actually unbelievable, right? Like he surely would try to drive and control and try to steer back or something. I don't know. He doesn't want to be here. Where are you taking me? Just walks out. No, that's not useful. Like well, I don't know. That's weird. That is very weird. But either way. 10 o'clock. We end up having our start here. Day 13. Day 13 is the first line that our phone fella, or at least what I presume to be our phone fella, is saying. Very, like already from point blank right there, that's interesting, because I'm not sure, because that would mean that if it's day 13 on the 14th, that means that it started, I think, on day 2, on the 2nd of August. Whatever it is that the bro's doing, started on August 2nd. So keep that in mind, alright? But either way, the channels are all fully operational, visiting Group 5 for the 3rd time today for routine checkups. Group 5, there's a lot of terminology that I not quite understand. So it's day 13 for some reason, and it's Group 5. So everybody proceeds to get respawned. Went about 12 today, in channel 57 now. Its alternative channels are running 2, which apparently exist. 547 has been showing nothing but static. What? 547? This is data that's useful. We gotta keep this in mind, but we currently don't know this. The interference overall was a success. Maybe it worked even too well. Every single television channel every single television channel that is available got affected by the void somehow, including ones I didn't know existed, and a few are overlapping. Not sure what that means for all of it yet. What are these? Like, this is, this I'm confused by, because it's just, you see, there we go. This is the difference, alright? This is the difference between confusing and confusing but different, right? Confusing in the way that the last episodes were confusing. They were confusing because they were giving us data. No, they were showing us things that happening, but they were not giving us logic. This is what I mean when I was saying in the last episode that it's confusion by logic, right? Confusion by logic is when it's just throwing the world's terminology at you 100%. You just don't quite know what it means yet, right? Like, this type of things is like it's giving me all the information that I need to know. Like, I don't know what this means. The interference. What do you mean the interference? Every channel was affected by the void, so they weren't before. Then what were you doing, right? Like, what's happening? Like, it seems like it's almost as if the void is created by you. Maybe, possibly. Is that what's going on? Because the interference, because the void zooms out to be the logo of the television channel, right? Or the broadcasting corporation in a way, right? So if you zoom out and we see the logo, that means that possibly the main company or the main society that's sorting this out is in a way, right, directly involved in the construction of the void and the connecting. So maybe it's an interference because every channel was affected by the void. So that means that maybe we implemented it. Is that what's going on? That's my theory. Okay, here's my theory. My theory. Okay. That I'm inventing here on the spot. So you gotta remember, any theory that I throw out is like nothing. Like any theory that I'm throwing out here is like invented in like 3 seconds. Okay, but theory, right? This fella, this void has like interfered with every channel or something, and turned like the multiverse into a channel in a way, right? And like that means that we've connected everything together, and maybe it's the early days, like day 13 of that, and that's to make the and if it's a company that is doing this, maybe this is a media empire building strategy, right? This is a media empire building strategy. It could be something like this company that's super omega powerful, right, is looking at it and it's kind of thinking about it in the way where it's like how every channel is going to be its own little universe broadcast, right? And that kind of separate, and that means that we get kind of like different type of content for people to watch, right? That feels like, I feel like there's a line of thinking where that works. I don't think anything I'm gonna say is even gonna be remotely correct because it's this show, right? But like, I can see something kind of running with that, right? Can you see it? I can kind of see it, right? Like some logic here. I don't know. I can imagine it, but either way. A few are overlapping, which I don't know what that even means. But apparently, one of the fella doesn't actually know what's going on with the polka dot itself, and then we apparently placed two cameras within the polka dot as they do maintenance on channel 57. Because apparently, as time's passing, the clock is getting weaker. Its normal lifespan is only 12 hours long. The method of resetting the clock has worked plenty of times, but it's time to find something that works a bit more permanently. So that's 10 o'clock. Alright, later than I hoped. Maintenance channel 57, please. Okay. So, something a bit more permanent. Okay. So then, what I think's going on, right, is that from the ending of the thing, right, where we get to see the footage of kind of like Lucas kind of warping in. Of course, this whole episode is about like, who the fuck is Clock, right? Okay, so like I think what's going on in this side of things, right, is that Lucas has been morphed somewhat, has been like kidnapped pretty much, right, by some boss, whatever, right, into like becoming Clock in a way, right? They turn into Clock, and by doing so, and like they take over the role as Clock, because maybe what's happened, because you gotta remember, it's day 13 of this. And by the fact it's day 13 of this, right? And the fact that at the end we get to see what's a prior reset in a way, right? Because basically what's going on here, what's kind of throwing me off, is that Clock is not Lucas, right? These are two different entities, but they've morphed within, right? Like what's happened, like there's kind of been a Lucas morphing within. But then if Clock and Lucas have morphed in a way, who is Clock prior? What is Clock prior? Is that just a character? Right? Like, and I think that might be what it is. Right? Because if we're looking at it under the perspective of, okay, Alarm Clock is a character, alright, and they seem to have this thing where every 12 hours they die out. Right, they get tired out and they have to get replaced and they run out of energy. As you can see, the energy of Clock has indeed been slowly kind of declining, and maybe that's also part of the justification for the less timing gags in it. Which, by the way, there's still a good chunk. They're just more subtle. Like that part of the writing philosophy that I was mentioning at the very beginning of the video, back when life was good. But like, I think that they've been forcibly getting like dying out and getting replaced every 12 hours. So maybe the idea here with finding something more permanent, right, is that we are going over and we fetched a real guy, right, and we've maybe tried morphing him within the Alarm Clock, and then this would allow for maybe like the additional permanence of power by having like a soul in there as like a character, Right? does this am I oh my god, what am I saying? What am I saying? Is this correct? There's no way. This is the most wrong thing I've ever said. But like, it's just, I'm being honest. This is what I'm thinking. This is what is going through my mind right now, right? Because that's like the idea. Because the guy's trying to find a permanent solution that keeps that like doesn't necessarily require a reset. I think, right? Because resetting the clock works, but we're trying to find a way that doesn't reset the clock. So I think that's the idea, right? If we're and by getting a guy in there, we're trying to kind of like get a way to keep the clock energized without necessarily needing to necessarily like kill him off every time and get a new guy in there. So I think so that might be the idea. I don't something like that. It could be something. Who knows? But either way, it's 10 o'clock and the episode starts. Good morning. Some people are... There's weird things are happening. Polka Dot is morphing between two people still. Something's going on. They kind of phase themselves out. They have this manic episode and then they're back to their other variants. So we're back to regular Polka Dot. Or we're back to like classic Polka Dot in a way, right? Who's mean. Who's mean and tired of everything, right? So we switch back to that character. They don't have the memory of what the other Polka Dot's doing. Now what's going on here? I don't really know, because that Polka Dot seems to have some because like that Polka Dot almost seems to have like some degree of awareness of what's happening, right? Because like I'm thinking about it, and then it's like, well, hold on. Okay. Wait. Dude, what the... I don't know. I because, like, everything that I possibly say just gets... I feel like it gets immediately counteracted by the existence of 8 o'clock. Right? Like, that's kind of the existence of 8 o'clock is a massive spanner in the works of any theorizing. Because it just feels like it's at a different time. Right, like, I swear, it's gotta be, like, 11 when that happens, right? Like, is that not 12? Like, is that, like, was that not episode 12? Like, what is that? Like, how is that 8 o'clock? Like, I don't know. Like, that's weird. But, I mean, it could be. No, it can be. Or can it be? Cantaloupe? I don't know, bro. I don't know, dude. Like, but what I'm saying is that, like, it's very interesting that like Polka Dot had that knowledge now after we know that like the cameras got, I guess, put within the Polka Dot universe to like observe in a way, because like there's this kind of thing going on with it that Polka Dot does know about the production company, right? Does know about the logo. When the logo was in and be like, this isn't Claude, this is something else, then like we immediately backed off. That means that we know, and we know the danger, right? So that's so Polka Dot, there's something going on with that with Polka Dot, right? And I mean, it's not necessarily like a logo that's been hidden per se, right? Like, for example, in this very episode, the paper that gets brought up, that's the logo of the company on the back as well. Like, something, like, it's not necessarily a hidden sign that the company exists, but like, it's I don't know. Anyways, the votes happen, and we end up having the theoretical elimination of calculator, which isn't very useful because they're already not there. It's only by 2 votes, apparently, though, which is kind of crazy. But either way, we end up having some gags, and then as we do, we end up having a little bit of a break. So as this break proceeds to happen, we end up having No Way try to get Polka Dot to green, right, to try to discuss things. However, Polka Dot refuses to do that. And by the way, there's also No Way doesn't remember Vase for some reason, which is interesting. That could be something. Again, who knows, dude. Maybe, but the other fellows remember Vase, right? The eliminated contestants remember Vase. Part of me is almost like, okay, is this a mind screw? Because like the characters are getting mind screws constantly. So is this a mind screw? Are you supposed to not remember Vase? Or is No Way just stupid? Which one of the two is it? I don't know. You see, this is again the whole situation that it puts in with writing philosophy against the plot line, right? Or like the kind of more randomy things that can happen don't necessarily play out to the benefit of the of their section, right? So that kind of makes for the awkward, like what is, what isn't. But I don't really know. Either way, we end up having Polka Dot fly away, and as they fly back, they end up nearly immediately after getting jump scare by themselves, and then as they do, they I think remain themselves though. No Way tries to make the trip over, not quite. They try to get the frozen people to help. Nope, that's not happening. And then everybody's back, and the clock suddenly remembers it's their birthday somehow. And as they remember it's their birthday, they No Way again suddenly knows that it was their birthday already because of the balloon in the sky that's apparently just been there. And as the name Lucas gets mentioned, we end up getting, I guess, a shot from within almost about Lucas kind of there and being like, what? It's almost like they heard the name, right? Because you can see a couple of, I think, alarm clocks in the background, right? So see, this is what I mean. Like, it's almost like we've tried, like, is this not what is kind of going on, right? Like, if we put the soul of a guy to play alarm clock, right? Maybe that's the goal, to try to stop the permanent resetting and therefore necessary daily maintenance of the channel there from the production company. Like, you see what I mean? Like, to kind of keep it. You know, like, bro, because like maybe part of it is the point of like the production element, quote unquote, is that ITFT is supposed to run. We're supposed to have a reset and a new season, right? So if you have new season, right, for the sake of media empire, then maybe what's happening, like, you need the reset. But like maybe we're not trying to do that for some reason, or like there's there is, though, of course, I guess they implemented that natural way to do that of the clock tower, right, that proceeds to do the beam that's supposed to take away all of the energy or something. And then I don't know. I don't know what's happening in this show, bro. Help me. Or oh my god, bro. But anyway, the challenge proceeds to be to get them something for their birthday, and they proceed to do that, okay? To various degrees. The riffs are mended. No Way and Tile are very interesting duo, by the way. The way that Tile is kind of a troller. No Way is trying to be like exceptionally serious, but there's just kind of some trolling going on. Either way, Polka Dot proceeds to I think reset, right? Yeah, this is the reset. As they wake up, wait a minute, hold on a second, hold on. I'm looking at this shot again. Polka Dot, eyes closed, okay, cameras in the background, then eye open, okay, and as eye open, we are in a landscape, but this is not the landscape. This is a different landscape, bro. What the fuck is this? This is like what is that? That's like a grayish ground. Okay, so maybe there's two polka dots. So if there's two polka dots, then that could be making sense, because that would mean, right, that like there's because like if there's two polka dots, maybe that means that they're swapping out. But I don't know if that. I mean, there's obviously two polka dots, but the question is like, is it like, are they physically from different spaces, right? That's kind of the debate. Like, are there two polka dots at once, or is there one polka dot interchanging? That's the debate. I don't know. No idea around these parts, but anyway, we end up having fetching off the Ride About You, which is Polka Dot's idea. So apparently the Ride About You is a ride that exists across the continent, which I do have to first of all already admit that the Fun World logo, this might be a coincidence, but the Fun World logo does happen to share a striking similarity with the production logo, like the logo of the company or whatever, right? Because it's kind of a ball in terms of the roller coaster, and there's like a circle in the middle in the face. It's not quite the same, but the same components are there in terms of the general shape of it. So that's actually something interesting. Make sure to keep I guess check on it. But either way, they proceed to go, the happy-go-lucky then proceeds to go grab a box or something, as an order of it, randomly sends the screen over to the freaking, like, different universe on accident. Fair enough. And then we end up having No Way's idea that we can fetch the birthday card from space because they got kicked into space. So maybe that could work. Maybe, but we got to get there. So yeah, Tayo, however, knows about the CH57. Tayo is very much so aware about the CH57, which is interesting because how the hell does he know that? We don't know that. Nobody knows that. And I'm at this point, my brain is fried. I don't think you know what? Maybe this is the most confusing option. Cause bro, dude, my brain. I don't know if my brain's ever been more fried. 15 minutes into a chatter, right? It's yeah, I don't even know what we're saying at this point. But yeah, you know about the thing, all right? Which is kind of a situation. Well, anyways, they proceed to get over to Green. Then Green still has no idea what's happening, but apparently they do know that something weird is happening with Vase, because apparently the Vase shard grows a flower, okay, anywhere that's around. So that's interesting. What does that mean? Still, nobody knows. And they proceed to apparently try to grow the vase for a little bit. Polka Dot eventually finds a right about you. However, the chairs are sold separately. For some reason, but yeah, the chairs are sold separately, so now they proceed to do that. I like the dynamics here. This is something that I do have to commend with. Okay, look, here's the show's general understand, the catch-up segments for shows, right? They tend to be mostly focused on kind of what's the main component of that what's the main component that we're thinking about, right? Because at the end of the day, it's okay, what's on my mind, right? What's on my mind in a show? For many shows, this will change, right? Absolutely, this will change. This will be different, right? And for this show, obviously the main component that's on my mind is the plot, right? Because the plot is it's this interesting little thing that's kind of being explained in an interesting little way, and it takes up majority of the thinking time, right? So this means that, of course, I haven't actually talked much about the writing or the story. That the writing or the animation, for example, right? The animation is kind of it's there. It's good. There's not as many details to the animation. The animation already started off at a pretty high bar, and it's just kind of remained at the high bar. It has from time to time, for example, in the songs and in some of the more complex moments, has time to level it up. It has basically freedom, right? It's animation with freedom. It's got a relatively high quality baseline, and for certain degrees, it will attempt to show off, right? But it doesn't necessarily have to do it constantly, right? I'm thinking episode 6 did it a bit more than usual, right? Which is also one of the reasons. But other than that, it's it's there. And in terms of the writing, again, I did a lot at the start where I said that it was really interesting how the time show was super based on time in terms of how things were written. Now it's not really, but it still is doing interesting things with it, because both of these dynamics are interesting, right? As we end up kind of having the no way tile being super serious versus super non-serious, but they both have a relatively shared goal but opposing views, right? You see why, from just describing how that dynamic works, you can already tell that it's interesting, no? Super serious, super non-serious, but same goal, different views. You see, there's a lot of contradiction, and it makes for an awkward non-awkward, which is kind of cool, right? And then there's the same thing goes on here, right, with the tire polka dot, right? It's interesting. We kind of have angry and non-rage baitable nice that does clap back, right? In a way. And the wheel, which is not super used to being questioned, because with patience, which is interesting, right? So that creates for some relatively interesting interactions that are actually going on within that scenario, right? So in terms of the writing, we still do try we still do make a relatively intriguing scenario within it here as well, which is a thing that I liked. I enjoy seeing these duos a lot in their respective scenarios, right? So yeah, that's kind of interesting. By the way, is there any? No, there's nothing. We end up having the montage with the the polka dot and the tire trying to find chairs, which is apparently super hard and extremely inconvenient. But we end up also having the map of the wheel fella that's been driving. Look, by the way, of course, I have to look. I'm just gonna say it one time. I'm sorry, fella. We discovered the other day that there were 71 million channels. Right? We discovered the other episode that there were 71 million channels. How are you keeping track of all of that? What are you doing? How are you keeping track of all of that? And then 57's the one that you're mainly focused on. I don't know, man. I mean, I guess you're on group 5, you said. So they're like split into groups. Groups of what, 20 million each? I'm not sure how this is a feasible amount of channels to control. But let's ignore about that. Yeah, eventually they grow the flower by swimming down, and again, more confusions take place. But we proceed to climb up, and Channel 57 is indeed where the birthday card is. You can stand there, luckily enough, but as you can stand there, you end up apparently taking one step too far, and that breaks the entirety of the Channel 57 thing in the sky. This makes it fall down quite a bit, which is, a little bit problematic. The No Way proceeds to freaking get surfed on in the ground. And right as the last couple of moments are being showcased, we end up having the last world, Channel 36, which is where Polka Dot and Tyra end up going to try to get the ride, the All About You ride thing, seat thing. And we do proceed to go to House. Yes, House from Orbit. Hello, Orbit. How we doing? I guess you're a channel. Oh no. Do we do momentary maintenance on you too? The implications of being in the ITFT universe. I don't know if the implications of being channel 36 as well. That's an early number. That's like a number that's a danger number right there, right? That's like a dangerous number. That means that's like a number that Mr. Phone fella's probably pretty interested in, It seems to be interested in the earlier numbers. So that's kind of something's going on there, right? Something's going on. But hold on. While I'm here as well, right? While I'm here, right? Okay. Let me say that one. Another thing, how does the channel work? Because why would the 8th channel of all time be the news for Jasonville, for Jasonville, Illinois? I get that it's a pretty big city, right? Okay, cool. But the 8th channel of all time, the 8th one. I mean, there's a lot of focal point of Jasonville, Illinois in the channel numberings. I feel like there would be more relevant channels. You gotta put BBC One or something. I don't know. You got something's going. I feel like the relevancy of the early channel being so focal point on Jasonville, Illinois, out of all places, is very weird, right? Is that not kind of interesting? It doesn't matter, but it's kind of interesting. But either way, we do end up having a seat, so we get the seat, and then we end up having the ride be the first thing that we end up going here, and then the ride proceeds to, and it seems like the ride knows what's going on, right? As by the way, the subtitles give us a extremely major piece of information. Talking is Mars rover. Mars rover is talking, which is very interesting because Mars rover is the piece of information is where the phone fella is referring to, right? Mars rover maintenance on channel 57, right? So that's intriguing that they're also the All About You ride. So that's interesting. But all right, what's happening? You were born on February 27th, 1997. In Jasonville, Illinois. First of all, wait a minute. February 27th. Wait, February 27th. Hold on a minute. Wait, but isn't it August? Okay, so it's not your birthday. Is it your birthday? Wait. Hold on. Okay, no, it's not your birthday, actually, right? Wait, so if you're... Okay, so yeah, no. So you're not that. Okay, cool, God. So it wasn't your birthday. For a minute, I thought it was your birthday, the day that they switched. I don't think it is, which is interesting. But yeah, spend most days as a child watching shows, painting, even try some singing now and then. You like to arrange games with all your friends, such as floorball, kickball, and tag, but little did you know, this would be the start of a very mundane and uneventful life. Just want, again, I know it's probably not, but just want to point out that the tag player is a square. That doesn't look like a tile. No, okay. You flunked out of high school, tried to apply into a dream art college, you got rejected. But 4.5 years works at a diner, got shut down due to health hazards, mold growing out of their fruit cups, and the remainder of your time living off of savings account, wasting away on your couch, eating popcorn and watching television. We did see that happen. To experience time in this new world, wasn't it wonderful, Lucas? Your time is almost up. Get ready for the reset. Wait a minute. No. Hold on. Mars rover is just a phone, right? No. Yeah, hold on. I don't know. The phone isn't calling to Mars rover. The phone is... Or... No, because... Wait. No. I think the phone is just Mars rover because of what we see there at the end, right? Your time is almost up. Get ready for the reset. So that's interesting. And it's almost like something's going on them. They end up unbuckling, and they end up eventually having their last moment where the happy birthday card is there. And of course, one of the primary things that is happening here is that I would like to point out, by doing the skating, right? By doing the skating, there on the ground, the no way sign is officially beat up. By the no way sign being officially beat up, this officially puts you in the state where, like, episode 8 no way was at. Because remember, episode 8 no way was beat up, right? And just kind of there. And then especially if you consider that the weather warning at the very start of the show is at 12 o'clock. Right? It's the next day where there was something going on with the weather. Episode 8 must be episode 12. That's what I think it is. I'm being 100% honest with you. My current assessment is that episode 8 is episode 12. Not necessarily that it is episode 12, but episode 8 takes place at 12 o'clock. That's what I think is happening. Because it's lining up in a lot of areas. And by the fact that, like, it just feels like a TP, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Especially when you consider... Oh, hold on. Wait. I'm thinking about it. Think about Polka Dot in episode 8. Polka Dot in episode 8 was pre any reset. Right? Pre any knowledge of a reset. But at the same time, despite the fact that Polka Dot is pre any of a reset, it's somewhat like that Polka Dot was nicer, right? That Polka Dot was pretty nice overall. That Polka Dot wasn't the super mean one that didn't talk to No Way at all. So, like, by that type of logic, I think that's what's happening. Yeah, that's my most sensible currently assessment of it. Is that that's what's going on. Because it makes sense. But that's interesting. The birthday card proceeds to say 2 hours left. Then, well, that's happening. Because, of course, the main part that says that it makes sense is because of the time thing, right? Because, because obviously we know from what we saw at the very end of the episode, right? That we have the end of the last show, and Clark proceeds to get zapped, I think, by the clock tower, right? The clock tower proceeds to drop by, and then there's the reset. So, like, I think that's I don't know. That's my best way to logic it. It really is. My best way to logic it is that episode 8 is taking place at 12 o'clock, and then we kind of get a continuation of that as we lead into it. So somehow in ITFT 11, we need to see Tile become a ghost or something. Like so something like that has to happen, and then that's 100% it. But yeah, by the way, we also have a very interesting sort of segue, by the way, into Channel 58. Right at the vote to save, where, by the way, Noe and Tao lose. So look, at least Clock was nice enough that the ride did win. The ride did win, by the way, which is crazy. The ride has just been like, the ride won. Dude. The ride being like, hello, Lucas, you are a loser. You will die. And that wins, but that's okay, cool. But I mean, I guess the paper with 2 hours left, right? The Channel 58 has TI-30 on it, apparently. And they're kind of sitting there, they're looking at the water, they see the partner variant of them, like the cowboy variant of it. No real clue what's going on in that section. But it is the following Channel 58, so maybe, I don't know, we're fetching people from it, right? That could make sense, right? In a way, if we're looking at the past, because we could be looking at the past, right? If we're looking at the past, then it could also make sense in the sense of the portal, because remember, all the people that drop by, right, could be from like neighboring channels, right? Back in the original episodes when like the debutantes came in, so that could make sense maybe. Then of course you had the glitch out. Lucas gets forced down to make sense. By the way, GG to Fever for having won the orb, and it's time for a reset and a new season. And then the show proceeds to end. So GG. As that happens, we end up having one screen fade to red for some reason. And yeah, all that stuff is indeed things that are happening. So, yeah. Show, am I right, gamers? I don't know. What is happening? We've talked. How long have we been on this segment, dude? My mind. You see, this is proper confusion. But I think I believe I got episode 8. It has to be at the end, right? Surely. Because it's too weird. It's too off key. You know? For it to make sense. I think, I don't know. But hold on. Wait, let me quickly do a little bit of a check. Yeah, you know what? No. I think it is. Because like I'm looking. I'm quickly checking episode 8. Right. We have a time skip. We do have a time skip. The clock is going crazy, and then we come back to it later. Right. So it's this is a app. This is a time skip. This is totally a time skip. This is a time skip to 12 o'clock. That's what. Yeah. My current scenario is that what happened on episode 8 is actually at 12, and then we'll get a continuation of that at 12, at episode 12. Episode 11 is going to be the final setup to us understanding, right? Because presumably Alarm Clock is going to be now fully aware about what the hell's going on, so maybe they're either going to say it or something's going to happen, right? And as they're going to happen, they end up trying to, I guess, find a solution, so we proceed to have, I guess, Noe or whoever else go like, okay, let's go over to Star. Because Star knows the fate of the universe. So by knowing the fate of the universe, we can go to her, and then we can get some solutions. Then we get some solutions, and then there we have an episode to call where we try to stop time. We get in there, we attempt to stop time, we fail after we realize the company. For some reason, Polkadot knows, because Polkadot knows about the camera, so Polkadot is presumably glitching out. Because Polkadot's glitching out, right? And by glitching out, as you can see, you've managed to see sort of beyond. You're seeing a warp perception. We could Maybe you're seeing the void, and by the fact that you're seeing the void, which is in the shape of the company, who is the logo, Polkadot would know about the company, which is the logo, which means that you understand. I understand the show. I got it. No more. I understand. I hella clocked it. ITFT, you no match for me. ITFT, you no match for a turn of a second. I'm definitely. I'm about to be so wrong. I don't think I'm about to be so wrong, bro. But nah, I think that that's what I believe. I think that's it. I think that's what's happened. I mean, that's what's happening. And then what happens from then on, who knows? But from right now, I think that's how we get to that moment, and that's why that moment happens. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. We're ready to see, ready to discover, as ITFT is happening. Let's do the outro where we say our closing ITFT thoughts. And there was the episode. ITFT is a very, very interesting show, isn't it? It's evolved in a sort of different metric to a lot of the other big boys, right? It's sort of developed into its own little idea, which is nice, right? Because, like, whereas the initial shows were, like, whereas a lot of the other big shows, you know, they've kind of focused on sort of trying to build as much mass appeal as possible, right? By sort of kind of fleshing out its story for those interested and keeping itself super fun, right? This show has, in a way, like, kept to a philosophy, which it opened up very early, right? It opened up kind of a loose thread, and then it started to go like, okay, what is the vision here? And yeah, this vision is a little bit beyond just silly show, right? Which makes it a super different type of thing and a super original type of thing, right? At the very beginning, when I was doing it, the episode 1 and episode 2 chatter, I asked one question. I said, why aren't more shows like ITFT? That was one of the questions that I was bringing up in my mind back then, because I was looking at it and it seemed to have a relatively baseline writing philosophy that was not replicatable. You can see where it is and go off of it in the same way that so many try to do with animatic battle, right? Or like, of course, it's easier sister show Object 4, right? Like, it's all these things are kind of. But I was like, well, ITFT is one of, like, the big boys. It's like, that's one of the top dogs. It's like, what is it? Like, why doesn't it get replicated to the same degree? And I got it. It's because of that general complexity. The way that the early ITFT episodes operate, I think, is how it's theoretically supposed to operate, right? Like, the early episode of ITFT is factory settings as the show is supposed to be, right? Like, if in time for the in-universe is supposed to be that, a time-based comedy-like show that takes about 10 minutes per episode, and each episode is an hour is the gimmick, right? Time is the gimmick, as I said. But as it develops out of it, it realizes that ITFT as a YouTube series is very different than how ITFT theoretically would run as as like a show, right? And this directly sort of changes the metric, right? And running something like this is nearly impossible. Running this type of analog detail is like just stuff that takes an extraordinarily large amount of time. I mean, like, if you look at Local 58, right? Local 58, the in a way original analog horror, right? Like, there's it's made entirely by one person, and you can tell by the length, like you can tell by the time that it takes to get from things to another thing, right? Like, it takes ages for new episodes to get out because of just the way that it is, because the complexity of analog horror, and again, a lot of, like, the details about analog horror and its implication to ARGs is in the detail, right? And this show ends up kind of forming the Object Show equivalent of that. It's not quite the Object Show equivalent of that, because it does, of course, it doesn't lean in fully into the ARG, right? Like, I like, other than a YouTube link, I've never had to actually go off site to find anything, right? But like beyond that, like, it's very close to it, right? And that means that it still includes the same amount of detail that an ARG analog needs to have to be able to portray its story in this kind of found footage scenario. Not found footage in the way, just kind of found footage as in not everything is always going to be aligned, right? So, like, this is... It's a very interesting thing that's super hard to make, and it creates a super unique writing, and I think it's overall good. I enjoyed it. As I was getting towards the episodes, you know, like, as you saw that as the episodes were progressing and it was telling me less and less while being more and more out of order, I was starting to maybe get a little frustrated with it. But like, it's reeled it back in, and it benefits itself, right? Like that's also one of the powers of the analog, right? Other, like, the backlog, meaning that the current episode will never mean what the first episode will mean after the next episode, is this one piece of power that this type of series tends to have, that makes watching it live as progression always a little bit tough, but when re-looking at it in a full perspective is something that always feels very rewarding. It feels very concrete, right? It's the same way that, like, for example, a lot of ARGs and these things get covered by that type of channel, right? Like, I'm thinking, like, I don't know, freaking Inside of Mind, like, from back in the days, right? Where, like, they get covered, and it's because, like, following an ARG directly is always going to be complicated, but eventually re-looking at it at a wider lens when it's done is actually the one of the most interesting things you can do with any of it. And I think that this show, like, while again not quite being one, shares a lot of that DNA, right? Where I do think that, like, from having watched it in the way that I'm watching it here, right, makes it a directly more rewarding experience than if I had watched it one by one. I am simulating the experience of watching it one by one by the fact I have a section after each episode, right? But if I was just watching it like fully in a row without stopping, episode 8 wouldn't, for example, feel as confusing, because you just move on from it and have to try kind of go with the flow of whatever just happened, right? So I hope that this makes sense. ITFT is good. I enjoyed ITFT. It's very different. It's, as I said, one of the most unreplicatable shows that there are, despite being one of the top dogs with a lot of attention. The characters are cool, fun. There's not a lot of them, and it's keeps them relatively consistent. Its main philosophies, both in writing and it's the way that it approaches storytelling, they're again unique. It sticks to them, and it forms a nice identity for the episode. And overall, it does a lot of things in a good way that I really enjoyed. Thank you, ITFT. I had a good time. For now, bye-o!